welcome to Just Roll Ones, your first stop for the last argument of Kings. I'm your regular host, Aaron, and this week I'm joined by somebody different. Would you like to introduce yourself, Mass?
Hello, I'm your non-regular host, Mass. I showed up here today. I was dragged across this place against my own will. Currently, he spent 3 hours waterboarding me, and now he wants me to talk about Conquest.
And yeah. So I don't know if anyone's heard of you, actually. I mean, do you do anything in the Conquest community at all? Have you ever, you may have made any content?
No, I've never made a single video, podcast, nothing in my life. No. Hi, everybody. I'm Mass from Bonk Table. I do all the Bonk Table stuff. So you've probably seen some battle reports. You've probably seen some podcasts or listened to them. What else is there? There's a Discord. You can find the link in the description below. That is a muscle memory right there.
It's great for memes. Great for memes in the Discord.
Yeah, great for memes. I love how one day Reese was like, hey, someone was asking for memes, and Reese was like, Mass has it. And then I posted like 1 billion memes in the general chat. It was like, here you go. Yeah, they only get better.
Yes, yeah, especially recently, they've been great. I personally posted an absolute banger that I'm saving onto for a little while. But,
oh, which one's that?
It's the one that I posted in I think in our private chat. But I'll send that one. I'll send it again to you.
Yeah, you gotta DM it to me. There's 1 million chats I'm in.
It is, but yeah, I think we've got something a little bit different this week. So as I am now officially the best player in the UK.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm looking now towards Chaos and a bit more competitive play, and I thought it'd be really interesting to bring Mass on and just have a bit of a chat as a previous Worlds tournament player yourself, and just have a look at the game from a more competitive, like a high-level competitive angle, because there's always a lot of chat, I think, on the international Discord and online about, army lists and how people are playing. And I think it would be, really good just to chat about, why some of these lists that people consider, top tier in a competitive environment are, where they are.
I agree with you there. It's always fun to do. It's fun to get these games in and play them, especially if you are looking for that higher end level of gameplay, like that high competitive. Just to let the listener know, if you're listening to this and you're like, that doesn't work for my end, it's like that's fine. You'll tend to find these conversations more around winning 5 to 6 round events. So let's say your Adeptacon or your Amulet D20, those larger events where there's going to be 40 to 50 plus players. You want to bring a good list to win, and you're actually looking to win, and that's kind of your goal. And when you do that, you kind of have to look at the game, the factions, and what each provides, and what each asks the questions or answers questions as you're going up there. So this whole conversation is going to look at high-end competitive. If you're playing locally, the game is still great. I don't want to ever be like, the game is bad, only the high. No, it's like the game's fine. Enjoy your stuff. You're going to have a blast anyway. But if you're ever going to a large event, tends to be 5+ rounds, let's say, be aware of this will most likely exist, and you'll see some form of it. Mm-hmm. As for the lists themselves, I've kind of bracketed them into tiers. I sent that off to Aaron before we began. We have 3 tiers. I'm going to call them top, middle, and bottom. And we have some factions that sit there. And so would you like to start at the top or the bottom for this discussion?
I think it's probably, people are going to want to listen to the top, aren't they? So let's start at the bottom and make people wait.
You're going to make them wait.
Yeah, and I'm not going to timestamp this either. So, listeners, you're going to have to either listen to the whole thing or just click through randomly until you find out where you want to go. That's all. I might actually timestamp this when I put this on YouTube, so you can listen about your favorite faction as we go through. But
yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
And the other option is if you go message Millaninja, you can see if he wants to give you timestamps. That guy's great.
That'd be great.
I always love giving him a shout out.
No, definitely.
He's great. That guy's fantastic, and I hope to see him at Adeptacon.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we can definitely talk about later as well, because I'd be interested to chat to you about Adeptacon. I think it is still the biggest event in terms of players, I believe, isn't it?
Last year it sold out, and I
Mhm.
think 62 players showed up.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean,
What's
that's
pretty
fantastic.
good,
Yeah.
I think Amulet D20 that was done in October, I recorded 40 or 44 lists out of, I think, a potential 54 lists,
Mhm.
because some people didn't submit their lists, and I had to do a whole record thing for it. So
Of
that's
course,
another
yeah.
large event. What's the largest event in the UK?
So it'd
You're a
be,
Brit.
yeah, it'd be LGT. I'd say usually. I think it's kind of around about, historically. I think 32 is the most we've had there. So I think as well that year it did sell out. It sold out at 32. I think that this year
Mhm.
they're aiming for we're aiming for 48. Though I will say there's a, rather than like I guess a big national event. There've been a lot of events in a place called Derby. That's run by a Vanguard called Elliot, and yeah, he's been putting up some big numbers. So I think of the last event we had over 20, but he's got another big event in May, 2nd and 3rd of May in Derby, and it's a 2-day event. So I'm hoping that we could push that up again. It's not going to be an Adeptacon size event. We struggle with space. That's our biggest problem, I think.
It's because you live on an island.
Well, exactly. We struggle with space, and also it's very different. Like I've spoken to you, and I've listened to you talk about how like you'll drive down to Adeptacon, or you drive over to Alberta to go to tournaments, and it's like what, like 14 hours or something. Like
Yeah.
if I have to drive
A little
2
less, but yeah.
hours, 2 hours, that's a pretty tough drive. That's a long commute to get to a tournament. It's 2 hours.
So I took when I was in Hios, I took or after Hios, and I was visiting Athens, I took a day trip. I took 2 day trips, one to the Oracle of Delphi
Mhm.
and one to the Meteor Monasteries. The Meteor Monasteries was 3-hour drive on a Greyhound bus,
Mhm.
and it was like this felt so much longer than me just getting into my truck and driving myself.
Oh, absolutely. I always drive like I. This maybe not be
It's just
a
brutal.
yeah. This might not be a public broadcast podcast, but I am not a big fan of public transport. It is soul destroying. I'd much rather drive myself.
Oh, we were on a tourist bus, so it wasn't bad or anything. It was like it wasn't the regular bus, but yeah.
No, no. But it's just
But still, it just feels like it takes so much longer, and it's just like,
absolutely.
oh, kill me.
No,
That's why I took
absolutely.
over the entire back seat and just laid out. Am I a monster? Yes. We're not. There's your answer. We're just gonna answer that real quick.
Oh
Okay.
dear. But yeah, so
Aaron has determined that we are starting at the bottom. So Millaninja marked this down right at this timestamp. Thank you very much, good sir. We have 2 factions in the bottom, and they are, for the wonderful listener, Weavers and Nords. So why are Weavers and Nords in the bottom? We're gonna start with the newcomer to Conquest, what is Weavers. This is simply because of, I want to say 2, maybe three factors. The first one is it's a new release faction. Not a ton of games have been played with it, and they do not have their full roster available to them. There's a lot of power still in Weavers that is not available as the miniatures release. So they're kind of down because they just don't have the tools to deal with a lot of the other factions. The other thing that kind of gets them is they're mainly just evasion 2, wound 4, maybe 5 across the board. They have some healing tech with the moths, like healing bombardment run or the healing run. They have some very good shooting with the currents to spread their seed. The will-o-wisps are fantastic for loose formation and evasion. Like they kind of have that feel of like being the wood elf faction of the game, if you want to relate it to like Warhammer Fantasy. They're doing really good there, but they just don't have enough things in their roster and in their arsenal to combat with the rest of the game currently. I've found kind of as I've played them, and I've played 2 games. There's the Reese's game is available, and there's another Weaver's game that is unavailable for various reasons, mostly because the video is corrupted. And I was like, well, there we go. But it was into Gem Red Knights, and Gem Red Knights are fun. They're really durable. They're tanky. They kind of act as Thunder Riders, if you want to know about that. But another issue with Weavers is they do not have a lot of armor crack. They have a very low lack of cleave right now. You either, I believe, have like one of the Drakes. It's not the coil one. It might be the Scythian Drake. And you have, what is the other one? The Gem Reds for damage. So it's just kind of like one of those things of you don't have the tools available to crack into Dweghom high defense. You don't have the tools to crack into Yoroni high defense. You don't have the tools available to crack into Old Dominion defense because they also got Harden on top of that, and they're not taking resolve, so it's going to be a while to kind of crack through them. 100K has good defensive stats, and various city states regiments have good defensive stats. So there's a couple factions that kind of just like push them out just based on stats alone before you even get to play. That's kind of really tough there. I think they can do well. I think under the hands of a good skilled player, they can do very well. And that gets into like the next issue that I've always previously mentioned, where players have just not gotten the reps of this faction yet. It's a new faction. Players tend to find as new factions come out, they tend to be on the kind of the weak side just because there are souls because they come out. And that's really it. Evasion 2 is very good, but at the end of the day, you're saving 1/3 of the time. And if you just roll bad, and currently the meta is volume of dice with cleave 1, if you cleave 1 and you have 6 attacks, you're basically the godchild of Conquest right now for an offensive regiment.
It's
like you have volume and you have enough armor crack to hit that evasion 2 block that's on a lot of things. You're happy. You're fine.
I think it's really really interesting to kind of point that out. So I feel like the meta's shifted really quite quickly in terms of armor. So I'd say if we were having this conversation even 6 months ago, you know, it wouldn't be that big a deal that they kind of lacked cleave. Not that cleave wasn't good, but kind of the Old Dominion getting I mean, Old Dominion didn't get a glow up, did they? They got one new big slug. But Old Dominion
did because they got a bunch of small buffs.
Oh, they did actually. Yes.
Attack 5.
Yeah.
Centaur Promi going up to attack 5. Like it's little things. They just need a little stuff, and now they're kind of acting like the monster of the game.
But yeah, you've got kind of
continue.
Yeah, I was saying like a few months ago it was very very much volume of dice, and like the more attacks you had, kind of the better I think the factions were. Flurry was like, I mean, it still is a fantastic rule, but you know, if you had a unit with Flurry and like 6 attacks, godly unit, and they're still pretty good. But now, yeah, with some of the factions that are seeing more play, Old Dominion, 100 Kingdoms, like you mentioned, Dweghom, who else?
The game is towards more armor.
Yeah,
I think that started when the Dweghom rework happened.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the Dweghom rework compared to it before, a lot of things went up to defense 4, 3 the shield or 4 baseline, and lost evasion. So now they're really pushing that D4, so you're saving 2/3 of the time. A lot of factions are running like cleave 1 at most, simply because a lot of things in the game are evasion 2 and defense 3. So like you don't need any more cleave than cleave 1. But cleave 1 on defense 4 gets you down to saving on 3s. Or if, let's say, it's Steel Forge, what's a fantastic unit, in my opinion, also overtuned, yes. They get hardened 1. Well, now you're just saving on 4s and you've mitigated the cleave 1. So I know way back, this is years ago, there was like math done on the bonuses between like the percent damage you will do from cleave 0 to cleave 1 to cleave 2. Adding cleave 1 or any form of like AP1 brutal 1 to anything that was a 0 increased the damage output by like 33%. But if you went from like cleave 1 to cleave 2, it did like 17% increase of damage. So like there was a massive drop off by like half from that step, math wise. Please don't quote me on this, but that's roughly what's kind of going on there. Wonderful listeners, but yeah. So a lot of stuff in the game has cleave 1. Like I believe 100K is the cleave 1 faction. Basically everything in 100K has a way to get, not has a way to get, but has a lot of cleave 1. Mark crossbows, House of Guard, Gilded Legion, Steel Legion, Crimson Towers, Ashen Dawn, Hunter Cadre. Like there's a lot of AP cleave 1, brutal 1 or more in that faction. So they do a really good job. Like 100K is a fantastic all-rounder faction. I love them. But as for Weavers, they just don't have enough things that kind of break through that armor really. And because of that Dweghom rework, things have shifted towards armor, what has reduced volume because you need something to crack the armor, but tends to be lower. Like those things that can crack armor tend to have lower attacks. Magma Forge, Minotaur Thyrians, Old Dominion Varangian Guard. We're going to get to Old Dominion eventually, and they they kind of break this rule of like low attacks, high cleave, and how they function. So it's great for them. But yeah, there's stuff like that. Steel Forge, I think they're not Steel Forge, Steel Legion are 5 attacks base. I think they could Drill Master to no, maybe they can drill. Fuck. It's been forever since I've actually put Steel Legion on the table, and they're one of my favorite, like model wise favorite units. I just like a cool ass looking dude in plate armor. Yeah, they're 5 attacks base. You can take a Drill Master for +1, so you can go to 180 points and get a 6 attack frontage at Cleave 2. It's pretty good. So yeah. Warbread is another option. So like there's stuff in the game to deal with these things that are kind of coming out more to deal with them. But they're not like what is it? Flame Berserkers. Remember you've seen Flame Berserkers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Clash 3, 6 attacks base. They're going to be hitting on 4s with 19 attacks. They're probably going to get between, I end up usually getting 11, but you should be getting between like 11 and like 13, sometimes 14 attacks on the like hits on a good roll. So that's a lot of damage coming in. You'll see a lot of those things. Like, was it Blooded kind of do that? They're a little bit lower clash. So they kind of get that 11, 12 mark. So there's stuff like that. And Weavers is susceptible volume, but as the game has gone on, there's been a rise in offense. Like the killingness of regiments has increased. Like, especially with newer release stuff, you'll see that things will have 5 attacks instead of like the 4 regular stuff. You'll see them have 6 attacks instead of the 4 regular stuff. Like if you use 100k as a baseline, what's really I like to use 100k as a baseline is that what is it? 4 attacks base, defense 2 with a shield, resolve 2, like basically the men at arms stat line. And you kind of like, that's kind of like your basic human. And then it goes like, depending on the faction, like you might have some more health because you're Dweghom or Withdrawn. You might have more armor. You might have more attacks. You might have less attacks. You might have higher resolve. You might have lower resolve. Stuff like that kind of happens with the game. And as you play around with the various stats, like the developers do that stuff. But yeah, that's kind of it there.
Yeah.
I thought I had something and I did not.
No, I think that's it. Like, yeah, as the game's progressed over the last few years, like stats seem to have increased. I mean, even if you look at 100 Kingdoms, I think it's interesting to look at. I've said on this podcast and elsewhere before, I think 100 Kingdoms is the best designed faction in the game. I think it's got the best internal and external balance. But one thing that's interesting is, they've kind of kept that human stat line, 4 wounds, 4 attacks, etc. But what they've done is they've given them ways to get, support 3. So the way that you're kind of getting those extra attacks isn't so much in having, minimum sized units with lots of attacks. It's having, big units with high support values. I adore Household Guard. Not building them, but playing them is fantastic.
I don't know if you've been watching me any of my recent battle reports, but
always
I've been playing Robert Shepard's 100k list. They took to HeroCon. Fucking loving it. just support 3 men at arms is so wild. You're like, how? What? Ooh, okay, it's working. Here we go. Like,
it's so awesome. Good. Yeah, really I love the. Well, we'll come to this when we get to 100 Kingdoms, but I've been really enjoying 100 Kingdoms recently as well. But I think one thought I had just from talking, it might be worth really quickly just like what do we think the important things are? Like in terms of factions competing in the meta, like a high level, what do they need? Like we've kind of talked there, you need armor cracking, so like Cleave 1, 6 attacks is pretty amazing. Brood drones are pretty, in Spires a great example, great unit, got Cleave 1. But what else do factions kind of need, do you think?
So it kind of gets into like sweepers and pivots. If you look at, because we're starting at the bottom, I'll give people a hint. Yoroni, Dweghom, SK, and Old Dominion are at the top end. They are all sweeper style lists, and they have enough tools and tech in their list to kind of pivot when stuff gets a little weird. But their general power and what they're doing and what they're presenting is so devastating to your opponent that they cannot compete. Or it becomes so difficult to compete that your opponent has to be like the skill gap has to be there to make up for it. Like there has to be a large skill gap. Like if you're looking at like an elo ranking, like in chess or like online strategy games, stuff like that, like there has to be a skill gap. Like if I was playing 100K and I was, let's say, a platinum player and I was playing into an SK player and they were gold, they probably have a good chance of beating me just because of all the tools SK has to play with to beat me with, that I have very little and limited interaction with to defend myself. So you get into like stuff like that. Like you have reductions in what you can do. Like that's kind of like what pushes them into that top tier. To be honest, is that they have tools and things that are incredibly difficult to deal with and interact with, that your opponent who's playing those lists and factions just kind of gets to do, and you have no way to really shut it down compared to like other things. Like, how do you defend yourself against lethal demise? Or sorry, let's say Aura of Death. Aura of Death is an easy one. Okay, I'm just going to charge that regiment with something else to kill it, to free the regiment it's engaged with up before it takes Aura of Death. Or like, I'm gonna shoot it with shots. So like it, there's ways around it with your positioning and where you deploy kind of thing.
I think that I really like your explanation there of like the sweeper and pivot, which, if people haven't heard, I guess I won't give a big explanation on, but I think that like we see with all of those factions, the four you mentioned that we'll come to later on, they're all basically there proposing the question. Like, Yoroni is asking, at the top level, can you kill 4 evasion 3 monsters and maybe a 5th one? And if the answer is no, then you lose. Dweghom, can you... I mean, do you want to deploy your army?
You walked on the table and now you're dying.
Yeah, that's that very much, yeah.
I have unlimited range colon cleansing rituals that will take you to a spa and you will bathe in death. Oh, like, how do I stop this? Oh, you have to cross the entire table to get to me. And then we're going to talk about the other issues like the Mud Hut. Old Dominion. I believe Old Dominion currently is the last beacon of triple activations. And if anyone remembers from last year with like Wadroon and various other factions, there was a reason why triple activating. Oh no, it was Wadroon and SK. If you remember Wadroon at Adeptacon, SK at Hios, there's a reason why the triple activations got nerfed. It's because your opponent cannot interact with them. Like you can just out threaten them. You can just get more value and hit your opponent before they can do anything to you and wipe them out before they can get to you. That is like those are kind of like those are the 4 top dogs.
And I think that I played a lot of Magic the Gathering and other games as well before, and I think we've kind of got the question asking lists there. I think what maybe we don't really have, and maybe this is a wargaming thing that you don't have in general, but like we don't have a control list. Like no one's you're not able to really build a list that can control those kind of obnoxious questions that are being asked. You've just got to find a way to weather it and kind of beat it.
So this kind of gets into stuff that I was going to talk about later as we went through each of the factions, but you get into like what 100K and CS is doing. And this is where you get into your rock, paper, scissors. So Dweghom SK kills the rest of the game and let's say has a technical matchup into 100K in CS. Where probably kills CS, but has a technical matchup into 100K. Then we have Yoroni Monster Mash that kills Dweghom Sorcerer Kings and the rest of the game. And then we'll Old Dominion kind of flip flops between the other the other third thing in this rock paper scissors, where it kind of acts as Yoroni Monster Mash, but it also acts as 100K monster killers because it just has the tools to kind of do it. And then we have Old Dominion and 100K that kind of can kill the monsters effectively from Yoroni because they just get the volume attacks through support and how they're doing their damage. But they get kind of just eaten alive by SK and Dweghom because they can't get there quick enough while getting blasted. So the current rock, paper, scissors is Monster Mash eats unlimited range. Unlimited range eats the Monster Mash killer. The Monster Mash killer kills Monster Mash. So let's say we have Yoroni. Yoroni as rock. Dweghom Sorcerer Kings as scissors. 100k Old Dominion as paper, and then it goes like that. There's your triangle. CS can be thrown into 100k because it kind of, there's a list in there that can kill the Monster Mash Yoroni and like the Old Dominion stuff, but it has a way more harder time than 100k into Dweghom and Sorcerer Kings. While 100k has like Theus Priest and Militia, it's not Militia Bowman, Chapter Mages to mitigate that damage coming in. So that's where like I call it a more of a technical matchup, because using those bubbles of interference, using the healing from the Chapter Mage, using the Theus Priest's Blessed and stuff like that to kind of like push yourself over can win you those games. Or fight back enough that it's not just a complete, waffle stomp. And that's kind of what's happening at the upper end. And then you're like, Mass, but you haven't mentioned like Wadroon or Spires or Reavers or Nords. I'd still kind of throw CS in there a little bit. Well, it's because like those factions just can't compete to what we've already previously mentioned. These other factions have sweeper style lists that are asking a question that a lot of factions can't answer. 100k if you build for it and have the knowledge of what's happening, you can actually play very well into the top end. 100k has always been weird like that. Like 100k, I love 100k because it's always had a build that can deal with anything in the game. The big question is, did you take it in your list? If the answer is no, you're going to have a rough time. If the answer is yes, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's certainly it. And I think if we just kind of circle back to where we were with Weavers, like Weavers at the moment just don't ask a question and
they don't really
ask it. Yeah, like the Moose Cavalry, they're pretty good. Otherwise, like I've not played Weavers since they've released. I've not played into Weavers since they've released. But I remember kind of playing
downstairs. I'm going to build them next week.
They just like, I'm just not that fussed about what they're doing. It's like, okay, you're going to put some seeds on me. You're going to get dread, maybe. I don't really know. It's like, cool. I'll just kill you.
It's like, oh no, I'm affected by all these blossoming flowers. My allergies are acting up. I'm going to tell you something, guys. I'm severely allergic to cats. People have threatened me with cats, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to kill me, but it's not going to kill me fast enough before I bludgeon you to death.
I mean, yeah.
And that's kind of my answer into Weavers.
I mean, I've got pretty bad hay fever, but I reckon I can still take the tree down before it gets me. Like, it's...
Yeah, like, I'm not instantly killed. I'm just, my eyes are all swollen up, my throat's swollen up, I'm barely breathing, but like my fists still work.
In fact, hay fever is a really great example. It's like, I feel like when I've looked at them, I'm going to be mildly inconvenienced for a little bit, and then just kind of be like, okay, I'm okay now. It's November, great. There's no more hay fever for a little bit.
And the big thing is like Weavers is that they don't really have an answer into armor.
No.
Yoroni, Dweghom, Old Dominion have the armor. 100k has the armor. Weavers is fine into Nords, Wadroon, Spire. Like if you're looking for like, oh, I'm gonna pick a faction to just in all the matchups, like that's the thing. Like remember, guys, on a local level, you can play Weavers, you can enjoy Weavers. Don't take this as Weavers are garbage and they're the worst in the game. They're not. They are not. You can still do really well with Reavers. I would play them locally. That's why I picked them up. That's why I'm building them. That's why I'm going to enjoy them. I think they're cool.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day,
absolutely, yeah.
I want to throw moss at people. But this is, I am planning, like this conversation is, I am planning to win a 6-round event. And the goal is to win the 6-round event. The goal is to go 6-0. Let's go look at what I can do. All right. So our next one after all that is Nords. Nords has a couple issues. So I think at Heos, I put Nords to their absolute limit, and I got as far as I could just through skill, luck, and opportunity. But I think that was literally the limit with Nords. Nords has no game into Sorcerer Kings, what is a major faction that's running around currently. So if you are playing Nords, you meet Sorcerer Kings, and your opponent knows what they're doing, is well practiced with Sorcerer Kings, you're just going to get burnt to death and watered to death and mud rock to death, and you're just going to die. Like you just don't have enough tools to overcome that matchup. The other thing that happened to Nords, what I'm really sad about, and this one I think is a hit that was unwarranted, is that Raider Captain.
Mm-hmm.
Raider Captain allowed Nords Raiders to score. So they're a light regiment, could score. They're one stand of seizing, and you can put your Volvo and your Shaman in there, and you can run them up the table turn 1, turn 2, get on a zone and score it. Your Volvo and Shaman is in a good position to provide spells and do whatever they need to do and go from there. Sweet. That's awesome. But losing it did a cascade effect. And the cascade effect is, I've kind of explained it in the Nords chat internationally where I wrote a big thing about it, but I'm going to explain it again, is that it has screwed up Nords list building. And this is because the Raiders are acting like a babysitter to the Volvo Shaman, and they also doubled as a scoring regiment. So like, to be a good light, this was a conversation I had with like Cass and Skillin a while back. You had to either shoot, you had to be cheap, you had to score, or you had to do an absurd amount of melee damage. So like things that were classified as good lights were like Morai, Curies, Flame Berserkers, Raiders, because Raiders were cheap, could score, and they could babysit a character, and if they had to fight, near the end of the game, they could commit and they'd be fine. Now, you don't really want them on zones because now you're taking space up. You kind of want to, so you don't want them on zones because they're taking up the space, but because they're not on zones, they're not at the front of the action to then flex into helping you win a side if stuff is happening. And it gets into their list building. So what Nords wanted to do was apply pressure to opponents, and you would get into pressure and you deploy Horns of the Bull, and you apply pressure to your opponent where you wouldn't really like full speed run up the table. You would kind of like walk your army together up the table. Nords being movement 6 across the board really allowed them to do this, where they were fast enough at movement 6 to kind of like get the places, but slow enough where everyone can kind of catch up and position properly. And you didn't really want to start fights until like turn 3, turn 4, maybe at the end of 3 if someone overextended, but mostly on turn 4. But you were set up in such a way that you would initiate peace trading where everyone could cover everybody in the peace trade. And so if your opponent hit you because you're putting pressure on them, you're kind of, you're tightening the loose around them, you're getting closer and closer and closer to the point where you're going to charge them or they have to charge you and you start collapsing on them. So, they charge the regiment of your trolls. The trolls take the hit at Dread and Evasion 2 and Oblivious and Resolve 3 or 4. They live. Golter hit that regiment in the side, wipe it out. Trolls activate, regenerate, move up, attack something else. Like it just kind of cascades like that. And that's what Nords is really good at doing. And there was a couple lists you could do it on. There was my Heos list. There was We Have a King, where you use the Conan gear with Steel Chosen and Bow Chosen. There was Superheroes. It's more of a superheroes. Super Heals, what was more of an attrition style list. So there was kind of things like that, but they all kind of did the same thing of where they deployed Horns of the Bull. They were speedy enough to do the work, and they applied pressure to your opponent that it kind of forced your opponent to like come into you. And if they didn't, you just hit them and you hit them hard, because Nords regiments tend to punch up. But because of loss of scoring Raiders, you now, to apply that pressure, to apply it effectively, you have to put a points deficit onto your opponent. And the fastest way to do that is to score two or more zones on turn 2. And that required you to have the scoring Raiders on a zone and then a Fenner on another zone on turn 2. And you score 2 zones, you'd get a lead and you put pressure on your opponent, because if they don't come to you and they're getting shot at with Stalkers or Bow Chosen, they're going to lose the game. And because your positioning is good and you're set up, you can collapse on them when they either commit, or if they don't commit and think they're going to win the long haul, you just apply more pressure moving up steadily up the table until you're in range to be like, well, this is a 3-up charge with a reroll. This is pretty good. Oh, I can march charge this with Golter. That'll be really good. Like you just have so many attack vectors that your opponent kind of gets hit with like analysis paralysis of like, where am I going to get punched in the face because he has 3 or 4 attack vectors on me and I have like 1. And that's kind of like Nords is doing. And so because of loss of Raider scoring, your list building changes, because you still need to apply pressure, but you can't anymore because you are now forced to take 2 units of Fenner. What changes up how you build lists Like, the Blooded Warband is really good. It's probably one of the best warbands in the game. But you really only want to grab one Fenner. If you grab two Fenner, it kind of goes like, I'm not getting efficiency. Then you're like Shaman. It's like, okay, where's my Shaman sitting? Well, he's sitting in a unit of Raiders that is kind of sitting back at the end of the table because he doesn't want to be on his own because now he's taking up space away from something that could score. My Volva's sitting in Huskarls. What's fine, but you're not grabbing that early scoring potential with the Raider captains. And it just kind of forces Nords players into like going down the Vogni Lord Blooded route more than they really want to, because they want to diversify their list and grab other things like from the Conagir Warband, from the Volva and the Shaman, and so on. And grabbing more Fenner Beast Pack restricts that, and it just becomes hard. On top of that, the killiness of the game has increased progressively since last time's Nords got updated, like last year in October. No, last year? No, 2024 in October.
Yeah, 2
like
years.
A year ago. The progressive killiness of the game, like there's been like subtle like increases of attacks, increases of like damage output and various things that have kind of resulted in like Nords kind of getting pushed out of what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're kind of at the bottom of this list with Reavers, is that there's too many things on a competitive level that push Nords out. Now, once again, everybody, Nords is not bad. I still own all my Nords. I've painted them up. I will still go and play Nords games. I quite like them. I quite enjoy them. But if I'm looking to win a big event, I'm not looking at Nords because they have too many faults compared to the other factions.
And I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know about Weavers because it's not a faction, like I said, I've played or played against. But I mean, I think of Nords, like you're saying, this is kind of from an idea of going 6-0 and winning Adeptacon, winning a big event. If that's not your aim, you know, you could still play Nords and go 4-2 at a 6-round event, maybe 5-1 at a 6-round event. Like, I think that it's really good that what you're saying there, and I agree. So I remember probably about a year ago playing into Nords. A guy we spoke about before. I played my first ever game into one of the UK players, Vagabond. It was a really, really tense game, and it was worrying because, you know, he got a scoring lead on me from the start, and so I was always on the back foot trying to keep up. And so that means that I have to be more aggressive because I need to take him off points, and he's scoring with light units. You know, I can't do that. But then I've played Nords. I played them at LGT this year, but I've played the other Nords lists in nowadays because they can't score with their light units. It's like, oh yeah, fantastic. Well, we're both scoring the same amount of points, and I can just not come towards you. And you know, there's not that pressure. You know, you have to like. If I can take one side, I can take a hit from Nords and then kill the unit. It's the peace trading kind of goes because I'm not trading into you. You're having to come and trade into me. And over a long game, you know, whatever faction you're playing that isn't Nords is probably going to win the long game. Not always, of course, but like, you know, if I was playing 100 Kingdoms and I've got 2 units of Household Knights, I'm probably winning if our armies are both on the table by turn 10, you know, because I can bully you off points better than you can bully me off points.
I'm not going to lie. An MSU of Helsenize with a Mounted Noble Lord. Once again, playing Robert Shepard's list. Love that thing. Also, shout out to Robert Shepard. Hallowed be his name. Mounted Noble Lord with eccentric fighting style and an MSU of House of Knights is just one of the most dog shit things to deal with from like for your opponent. It's defense 4, rerolling 6s, and then you have a is he 7 attacks? He's
something like that. 7 attacks,
flurry weapon master. Like he's Cleave 1. Like that guy is putting in work.
I think that Household Knights may well be one of the best units in the game. They are incredible.
100%.
I every time, especially. So I've been playing. Well, as we'll. In fact, actually, we're moving up to the next bracket soon. So okay, do you want to do them?
You can pick the faction. You can pick the faction we're going to talk about.
Well,
I have them listed like a tier list where I would actually move this around.
Love a tier list. I would probably. Well, I'd say if we kind of go into this tier 2 area, I would probably start with 100 Kingdoms because I think that.
Okay.
I genuinely think that 100 Kingdoms is the faction that all balance is going to be based around. Like, they are a good, solid faction. You can always do well with them. And genuinely, when I'm looking at these lists, I'm comparing everything to 100 Kingdoms. And I think that, like you said before, because there's such a variety of units and playstyles, they can cover an awful lot of the different ideas that you're going to have for this tier. Like, so I played a tournament in Derby last weekend, and which I came second due to tiebreakers. I got the bye round one. It's awful getting the bye round one. Miserable.
Why do I feel like I saw the launch links on this?
I
heard you talk about it the other day.
I was talking about it. But I won all my games that I played, but I was playing 100 Kingdoms. I was playing Theist Feudal, which is my favourite way to play. I don't know if it's the best, but like... So I guess you've played a lot of 100 Kingdoms historically as well, but I think what I think is really good about 100 Kingdoms at the moment is you've got high armor or like good defenses, like with the reroll 6s, defense 4. You've got pretty solid resolve because you're generally playing larger blocks of infantry. Maybe they have Oblivious, but also in Theist they also get blessed for 1 turn, but also they get +2 speed. If you're probably playing an Archangel, they're going to be Divine Favoured, I think it is. Speed 9 Cavalry, crazy, but then Speed 8 Infantry, crazy. And I think it just...
Speed 5 base on all other infantry, speed 7.
Sorry. So speed 7.
Yeah,
well, you've got a banner. Yeah.
It doesn't mean their speed increases the banner. It means they just...
Yeah, but that's... I think
March does, if I want to charge somebody.
But speed 7. So it's just really, really good. You've got the... and also, I mean, I know... I'm sure you might mention it, but the range output of 100 Kingdoms, whilst it isn't exceptional, it's good enough that it can put pressure on your opponent to have to come towards you. Like a nice unit of 5 longbowmen. It might not kill a spider. Nothing kills a spider in my experience, but it's enough to put pressure on your opponent. So I think that's just a really well-rounded army list.
Yeah, 100K. 100K kind of just does everything. Like I've mentioned this before, where you can build a 100K list to kind of do everything. If you kind of know what's happening, like when you get there, you can grab the tools. You can grab 100K can do large bricks, 100K can do shooting, 100K can do speed and cavalry, 100K can play a brick play style, 100K can castle, 100K can play a fast advance zone board control style list where they just kind of run up on the zones, take them over. Like this is where you're playing like a lot of horses kind of thing. Take it over and then like score zones and then it's like pull back and like get an early scoring lead or like zone people out with House of Knights and stuff. And they have a lot of damage, especially with like feudal taking on the tags. Like the battlefield rules system was basically built for 100K, and 100K takes advantage of it the most out of all the factions in the game.
Absolutely.
The feudal being able to mix and match for each of them really allows you to grab like some solid baseline units and then just steal power from the other sub-factions. I would say like feudal works really good in either orders or theist. It does all right in imperial, but imperial weirdly enough kind of just wants to play by itself. Like I don't think that's really like a big shocker. It's just because like the bonuses for it are if you're playing infantry and you're not and I don't know, you're looking for like vanguarding and then the reform supremacy from the imperial officer. Doing that with feudal is really nice, but like just how things work out, I find with Robert's list where he's doing feudal theist, getting blessed on everything is just so powerful. So that ends up being like, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Getting blessed on everything is actually like really, really good. I believe there was a list at, there was a tournament. I think it was Faytown. There was a 100 Kingdom player. I saw the list and it was like 4 units of Mounted Squires, like 3 or 4 units of Household Knights, 2 Sword Archangels, and then like 2 Militia Bowmen, and one had the Theist Priest in it who was just like, he's going to cast Bless turn 3 or 4, and he's going to aggressively get up the table, and then you're just going to grind into like the blessed and the defensive stats of these Household Knights, and the Archangels are going to swing in from 16 inches away with their smite attacks, and then they're going to start stabbing people. Like it's a really solid like pressure list. It's very fast, and it's like something that a lot of players really haven't experienced of just getting like dogpiled at the start of the game.
Mhm.
You'll see this with Wadroon in Speakers, especially if they're doing a lot of Quaddles and Wing Lords. Apex Chinchilla plays a Quaddle list where he's basically dogpiling you like top of 3 with like 6 or 7 birds. You're like, get the fuck off me. It's and it that like something like that comes down to like understanding the matchup and how to deal with it. And in that matchup, you want to draw your opponent so you spread their lines out really far if they want to do it. Like you kind of have to bait them a little bit, but it has to be spread out far enough that the speed advantage they have is where you're pulling their front line too far forward so it isn't supported, and then their second wave is kind of isolated, and then you start moving up to fight their second wave normally, and you kind of kill it because you now have a numbers advantage because they wasted their front line. So you're trying to like bait it out and staying back and consolidating your forces.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like that. And then you get into like the large bricks who are generating like 30 plus attacks into things because 100K doesn't have a good MSU. Like I'm be real honest. There is no medium MSU in 100K that I would ever look at and go like, wow, that's sure amazing. You could kill the world with that thing. You don't got a gold or beast pack. You don't got I don't know, like a wing lord or I'd have to look through these. Like you don't have brute drones. You don't have a gold or beast pack. What else do we got here? What I can use as an example? Fucking anything in Dweghom.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, yeah,
Steel Forge, Magma Forge, Wardens, like
spiders.
Spiders are a medium. Like
Sorcerer Kings, elementals, like
elementals, like a lot of them are medium. Like the thing in Conquest is like your lights set the line of engagement. You have a bunch of guns that are lights, or a lot of them are lights, or sometimes they're mediums. But the lights are setting the line of engagement. And then you have your mediums that are either going to be taken as bricks or MSU killers, and then your heavies tend to be like there's always caveats to this, but they're going to be your hammer blow. This is this heavy's going to come in, punch your opponent right in the gut, and they're going to puke out their guts on top of you, but they're dead at that point, so you don't care. That's like I'm generalizing here, but that's kind of how they function. And of course, there's caveats to all this, and how stuff actually plays out is much different. But generally, that's kind of how you do. But 100K doesn't have any MSU killers. It doesn't have a medium that's good at killing other mediums. Men at Arms are not a medium that kills other mediums. Hunter Cadre kind of follow the same suit. Household Guard kind of follow the same suit. And the big reason for that is that their baseline stats is that human stat line of attack 4.
Yeah, I think
Sicarii are probably the best example, but they're also evasion 2 4 wounds. Like they just die.
I think this is one thing I found when I was playing. So 100 Kingdoms, of course, also lost the light scoring, and I mean they were incredible. I think if they still had that, I might bump them up a tier. But what I found was that because I needed all of my units to be doing work. Like I needed I needed my men at arms to be doing work. I needed my household guard to be doing work. Like the household knights were off doing work. Like I didn't have any units that could just kind of sit back and score zones. And I also can't in list building. I don't really have the ability to, you can take a minimum unit of 3 men at arms, I guess, to sit on a zone. But then you are kind of, you're taking away from the rest of your list. And I know that's the same with every faction. I just felt it. Well, maybe not every faction. I mean, Sorcerer Kings have medium archers.
Old Dominion has medium archers.
Yes.
But also, like, let's use Gold or Beast Pack from Nords. Gold or Beast Pack are a medium, but they can go charge a zone, kill the opponent regiment, and go sit on there and be happy. Pig and mud for the rest of the game. They'll be happy, and they can threaten out if they need to, but they're fine scoring it. They're a danger if anyone comes near.
Yeah.
Household Knights are probably your best example of 100K's medium killer MSU, but they don't really kill a lot of stuff in one turn unless they have a character attached. They tend to just kind of like hit it, do a bunch of damage, kill off a stand or two, and then they kind of just grind it out until they win.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not doing a 1-round MSU kill
No.
compared to like Steelforge or Flame Berserkers or Wardens. I'm using Dweghom because they got a lot of great killers in Dweghom. But yeah, like it's stuff like that where I find House of Knights usually tend to just kind of hit a thing, and like when I charge you the unit House of Knights, my plan is to win the fight. I just know I'm not going to be doing it this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the next turn, sometimes 3 turns, but I've also committed to that and going, whatever's behind me is now being protected. Or I'm pulling resources away from you to go deal with a unit of House of Knights. What means those resources are pulled away from other things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I would say House of Knights are the best option for 100k for like an MSU killer.
Yeah.
But because they don't really have a certified MSU killer, they build bricks to get the support attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Steel Temple are pretty decent in MSU. Are you guys 4 attacks each? I forget. It's been forever since I pulled Steel Temple out of my ass. They're 4 attacks each. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
they're a little quicker. Yeah, they're doing the same thing the House of Knights are doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you start to run big bricks of stuff to kind of go there, and that's kind of it's kind of it. So 100k is really good just because like of the list building. So as you mentioned before, they have not the greatest shooting in the game, but they have good enough shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They have a wide variety of shooting as well. It's really nice. They have specific like targeted shooting in the Hunter Cadre to go after brutes and monsters. There's a rise in brutes and monsters currently in the game. Hunter Cadre are a fantastic regiment in that way with Fiend Hunter. Longbows, long distance shooting, Merc crossbows, cheap effective shooting, militia bowmen. You're not, you shoot, but you don't really care. Babysitter for the Theist Priest, get some Archangels. Who else am I missing? Because there's 5 of them. Militia, Longbows, Hunter Cadre, Merc. Oh, Imperial Ranger Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Imperial Ranger Corps are the sad middle child of the shooting regiments because everyone else there kind of covers what they want to do in some weird shape or way. If you're taking Imperial Ranger Corps, you're kind of just like, I don't know, you're being fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I like, to be honest. But yeah, because you can build in big bricks and get a bunch of attacks, and because all your attacks are through support, the frontage of monsters does not matter as much to you compared to a lot of other regiments who want to maximize the frontage. So if I'm running 5 Stands of Ashen Dawn and I can only connect with 3 into a monster, that means I'm losing 10 attacks. While if I do a 3 frontage base and I charge let's say a 5 or 6 regiment of household guard into your monster, I'm losing the back 3, what is 3 attacks out of my, I don't know how to do math. What we got here? We got 5. We said 6, 6 times 4. So 25 out of my 25 attacks, I am losing 3. So I'm going down to 22. So the difference in attack volume is much less through the support mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
What allows you to shoot through monsters much more quickly and effectively. And that's why City States gets to join 100k in killing monsters because they have Hoplites with support, they have Phalangites with support, and those regiments and their tech really allows them to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you're rolling a lot of dice. Like, that's just
volume. Cleave one volume,
yeah.
didn't I tell you?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what you're looking for. But yeah, I mean, 100 Kingdoms obviously fantastic, very versatile. Though what I'm interested to hear about, I mean, you mentioned, you touched on a little bit, but how about Woodrune? What do you think the Woodrune lists look like currently?
They're in speakers. So Tribes doesn't have a heavy to seal the deal. If you're playing Tribes, it's the Taunter or the Drum. I got to look at the Taunter and the Drum.
Taunter.
Is he Tribes?
No. Maybe not. The Chieftain can ride it though.
It's speakers. And Drum Beast is cults. Yep.
Yeah.
So basically what happens with Tribes is that they do not have a finisher heavy that is in that is part of the Tribes sub-faction that allows them to get, like, let's say Chieftain buffs, or is the Queen's the Tribes. But I think her Supremacy, it's a draw event. Blah blah blah. Yeah, her Supremacy isn't that great.
Yeah.
So that
was
kind
at
of
one point.
I know, but that then allows you to go into cults and was it speakers? So we'll talk cults. cults. The issue with cults is that they don't have enough stuff that is labeled cults. Have any lights, and so they have to go pick up like tribe stuff and speaker stuff to support their lights. Like speakers has a great flexibility on their like reinforcement curve. Like they got Raptor Riders and Hunting Pack that are really good for lights. They got Quaddles and Wing Lords that are really good for mediums, and they got Thunder Riders and Apex Predators that are really good for heavies. So they have a really nice curve. Thunder Chieftain with Thunder Riders, you're automatically bringing in 3 heavies a turn, so your reinforcement curve is really good. The Supremacy of Shock for all the speaker stuff is really solid. I want to check. I know Warbred are their tribes. Yeah.
Yeah, they are really good. I mean, the Warbred are fantastic.
So the Warbred are fantastic, and you kind of want to take them in tribes because the Chieftain's going to give them like Trample and Vanguard and stuff like that. What's really great for getting out to the table. But tribes overtakes it because they have a really nice reinforcement curves with their lights, their mediums, and their heavies. They have flexibility in the Quaddle and Winglord who gets that free shooting action. So, and their maneuverability of being on a monster base and being speed 9 because they're so fast. On turn 2, if you run your reinforcement line up, I think like 13 inches or something with like Raptor Riders or like I think Hunting. I don't know if Hunting Back can do it. I'm not going to look. You can get a Quaddle on like a mid zone from the side with its like 18-inch movement. Just like, oh, I'm scoring this now. So they have the pressure that Nords lost. They have flexibility with their shooting from their free shots from their Quaddles and Ring Lords. They have melee damage with the shock supremacy on all their speaker stuff. So their damage output increases by what is it? They go up +1 clash, so it's like what, a 16% or something?
Yeah. Something like that.
On everything. So and that's why like speakers is really good. You don't really play like speakers likes to kind of like long bomb stuff with like the march are like, are you within 17 of the Thunder Riders? Yes or no? No, you're safe. Yes, you're going to die. Like, they have a point and delete button with the Thunder Riders. They have tools and abilities with their innate stat line, fluid formation from the Hunting Pack to kind of, weave around, pin stuff, get in the side, opportunities with shock, 4s rerolling on their 19 attacks, just rips through things, especially the flank. Like you can do a lot with speakers, and that's why speakers is up there. The issue with speakers is that they're low enough on defense. Remember, D3 evasion 2. So any sort of that cleave 1 volume I started talking about rips through them very quickly. Dweghom, Sorcerer Kings is going to touch them before they can move. Even with their speed is going to start touching them and killing their stuff as they make it up the table. Old Dominion is going to try and sack some stuff, and then they can counter speed with the Zilliarch speed and the Slug. Yoroni Spiders, loose formation and evasion is going to counter a lot of the stuff coming into them through their range damage. What's going to be mitigated, and then they can like sack a thing and kill it. And then once Thunder Riders get engaged, they kind of start falling off. Like the speakers list wants to kind of like run around, take pot shots, whittle you down, and then engage. And Yoroni Spiders counters that because they're loose formation, they're evasion 3. They're not going to be taking a lot of damage from the pot shots, and then they're going to, go up the table and engage on their terms. What's going to be really bad for the speakers player. Speakers does a lot of great work. I would say it's the top sub faction in Yoroni, or sorry, not Yoroni, Wadroon. And that's kind of why. Like Tribes doesn't have a heavy to seal the deal. Cultist just doesn't really have enough stuff. It's nice to dip into the cults to grab stuff. Like Scion of War is really nice. I think whenever he's the warlord or the warlord supremacy, he's doing some fun stuff. But you're kind of just playing a grind game, and there's other factions that do it. And if you can kill those factions, you can defeat Wadroon grind. If you tend to look at Wadroon, you can notice that yes, they have +1 wound compared to the baseline human, but they tend to have -1 defense or sometimes -2 defense, like they're D1 or D2 most of the time. So they don't have as much survivability compared to a lot of like the baseline.
No, I think that's one that always really shocks me when I play into Wadroon that I just think people need to remember is that actually their defensive profiles are really quite low. So, if you're playing into a Wadroon player, you've kind of just got to hit their stuff and it dies. Like, Slingers are the best example of this. Yeah, Slingers are the best example. They're like defense 1, evasion 0. Like, you just get anything on them and they will die. Like, they're 5 wounds, sure, but you hit them 10 times, they're probably losing 10 models. Like, generally, it's
before resolve kicks in, or if you're like shooting them with any AP, like they're dying.
I mean, this is going back a while now, but I remember I got this is quite a while back, and my opponent had 5 stands of slingers, and they were absolutely just tearing apart stuff. But I managed to charge them with like a minimum unit of Strix, and I'm pretty sure I picked up the whole unit. After I was like, oh wow, like that was really easy. You just kill them. Like, that's incredible. Like, so yeah, I think that's even Thunder Riders. Like, they're obviously tougher than slingers, but they will just die. And I think that's what's important to remember when you're going into them.
Yeah, you just gotta touch them before they touch you, because if they touch you, you're probably gonna be dying. So with Wadroon, the reason why they were like they're OP is because of triple activation. A lot of like Conquest no longer gives a third action. Fire in advance forces you to move forward, so you can't just like walk up, shoot, walk back, stuff like that. Their triple activations have been limited so that they're more playable into a wider group of players, because you don't have to be like, I can like position perfectly and also understand the matchup super well to counter this. So, but yeah, they're still doing really good stuff. They're still hitting you from far away, but you have some play into them now. That takes us into city states. Love me some city states. City states is I've kind of settled on, they don't ask any questions, that you kind of just build them to answer questions. And that I've talked to Kyle from Polar Gaming Plus Painting about this. There's an episode on his channel where him and I talk for like an hour and a half about city states list building, because Kyle does city states list review. You can send Kyle city states list through his email. Find it in the description of his video. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. And he will review your lists as kind of the competitive city states player. And a lot of it, what boils down to is that there's a lot of fun stuff in city states, but if you're playing at a high competitive level, you're gonna grab a bunch of chariots, you're gonna grab a bunch of Thor Keeters or potentially Agama, and you're gonna run like Polomark Warlord for sure, and like a big block of Phalangites. Phalangites, are they Phalangites?
Phalangites.
Phalangites? Jesus. Why you guys let me talk? So you're going to give a big block of Phalangites. So what this is doing is you have enough stuff to get in the way and to kill the... we'll talk about Monster Mash now, because City States is actually set up very well to deal with Monster Mash. What the big Yoroni list is a Monster Mash list. So it has the volume attacks through, support. They have the speed with their lighter alloys ability, and they have the ability to go first with the Polomark Supremacy, so they can just hit one of the monsters, blow it up, and then run the other stuff in to start engaging and start covering the flanks of that big Phalangidi block, who can then, get to the next monster and blow it up and, carry forward. But Yoroni monsters is going to be their toughest battle because of the Evasion 3 and because of the loose formation to reduce the chariot shots. While into other Monster Mash lists, let's say City States themselves, I believe there's Harden, but you're still shooting them. You can still get away with shots. Into Wadroon, there is no loose formation. They can go sit in woods, it's fine, but they're there. But also their shooting damage doesn't into your chariots to stop the shooting. They need to kill the chariot, and they don't have enough off output to kill it efficiently enough. Harden 1 on D3 is gonna keep those chariots alive, and they can kind of just keep popping shots into the monsters, lighten them up before like a unit of Thorkides, Agama get there, or even like the big Phalangidi block gets there and just blows up a monster. They have, Companion Cab is in there because of the speed. So they're going to be like quite fast, and they want to be fast. They're kind of fast moving up the table, but not necessarily fast charging into stuff. Like, once they blow their lighter alloys, that's kind of it. But, with enough, I think they have enough Vanguard, enough speed to kind of set that all up. And it kind of takes that block a little bit to get into the correct position. Anyway, they have the tools to do it. They do not have the tools to deal with magic. And two of the top factions are Dweghom and Sorcerer Kings, who are just going to blow them apart because they don't have anti-magic tech. And if you start taking the anti-magic tech upgrade, what is like, I think, what does it say?
Primal Globe thing?
Yeah, it's not, it's good, but it's not good enough. Like, kind of, if you get my drift. All friendly regiments with an 8 of this character stand count as having Wizard 1 for the purposes of enemy interference. So you can character stand, everyone with an 8 now produces a bubble of 10 inches of interference. So like it projects pretty far, but it's also a 20-point upgrade. You have better upgrades to grab, kind of thing. Like City States players don't really grab it all too often. They might, but also even if they do that, you're putting that upgrade on your like your Polemark or your secondary character who's probably in like a weaker regiment. And even with the interference, the Dweghom and City States player can just kind of like dogpile that with spells and blow it up, especially City States with rituals. They'll kind of just blow it up and then, they'll do the regular spells, and Dweghom will still cast into it anyway because City States has the unfortunate result of being a part of the 100k stat line of D2 with a shield. And Pyroclast ignores your shield and is AP once. You're saving on ones. Please die.
Yeah, it's. That's it. Dweghom, I think, is a really tough match for everyone. But the Sorcerer Kings rituals and everything, and spells as well. I think it's just really tough for them.
And like you start seeing the rock paper scissors. Like, so this takes 100k. Gonna have a great time into they're gonna have a great time in a monster mash. They're gonna do well enough into everything else. It's going to be a technical battle into Old Dominion of like trying to bait out the supremacy and like reducing the damage incoming, but they kind of just get hosed by Dweghom and Sorcerer Kings, and it's just like they're trying to answer questions. They're never asking those questions when it becomes the problem with them, especially City States.
Yeah, I think it was really like you were saying that they come to the board quite quickly. They've kind of got the Vanguard. You're going to be getting your army on the board. It's going to be up the board, but you don't really have that threat range to threaten the magic from Sorcerer Kings and Dweghom. Like they probably will. Yeah, they can pretty much take most of your units apart before you wander across the board.
Yeah, and that's the issue. And then it's like your stat line doesn't allow you to survive.
Yeah,
I think a companion cab or or defense 2, E1. Yeah, you're
something
dead.
like that. Yeah,
4. Like you are wound 4 and you don't have enough defense to stay alive.
Yeah,
you are dying.
Yeah,
Resolve 3, like cool. I'm probably taking 2 stands.
I really want the Hoplites to be good. That's what I really want to see my City States armies with big blocks of Hoplites. I've seen 300. Right, that's what I want. That's what I think it should be. The historically accurate movie should be how these factions play.
Yeah. It's fun, but at the end of the day, City States asks or doesn't ask. It answers questions. It doesn't ever ask a question.
Yeah, that was their mistake. The Persians should have hired, a big magic egg to sling spells at the Greeks, and then they'd have won. It's all you need.
Really. Wait until we get that Persian faction. Actually, SK wouldn't be the Persian faction.
It's not really. I thought it was going to be original.
It's like Arabian Nights, like 1,000.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't consider Persian though.
It's more like it's more like I want to say it's from like India.
That would be more that kind of idea. Yeah. Have you read Wheel of Time, by the way?
No, I don't want to. I have too many Warhammer 40k books to get through before I get to Wheel of Time.
No, but you should read it. I think
you've seen pictures of my library. Like, I have a lot of books. So I always make the joke, I don't read.
There was the reason I asked that is that I was having a chat with a PB member. This is a while ago now, but a PB member of staff, and we were talking about books, and we were talking. So if you know any of the Parabellum stuff, you'll probably be able to guess who this was. But I was mentioning that, like the Shanshan, who were part of this, I would say probably the more Persian-esque style, nationality in that book. And I say that'd be really cool. I'd love an army like that. But for you, as a non-Wheel of Time reader, they're probably similar to the Scorn, right, from War Machine. I was like, that'd be really cool. That's what I want. And I said, oh, is that kind of what the Sorcerer Kings are like? And he was like, oh, no. Like, kind of maybe a little bit, but no, mostly there's this other faction that's going to be coming out that's like really similar to that. And I was like, sweet. They're not out yet, obviously, but
no,
that'll be pretty cool.
I've owned the lore book, and it's fully signed for everyone who's at HEOS in 2025. I am still reading through that thing slowly.
I haven't even started. Yeah, I haven't started yet, and I've got it next to my bed now. But every time it's Peter, isn't it? Every time Peter's like drops some like random lore, and I'm like, how do you know that? Like, what's going on? Like, you read, you nerd? Like,
yeah.
But no, that's it.
The funny thing is I went to the new factions in the back and kind of read a bunch of them, and then I went like from the start and started like reading, and it was like, okay, this is fun.
Did you ever see? So this is like our interlude, I guess, in the middle. Did you ever see there was an incredible YouTube series that was started by someone on Conquest lore? Like, really?
Is it Doug?
No, it's not. No, it's not Doug. No, it was. I'm going to find them and send them to you. I remember they only did 2, whoever did them. I think he did 2 videos and then stopped making them. But they were just like super high quality, really lovely to listen to. He had a lovely voice. It was like, I don't know if you've ever played Destiny or Destiny 2.
Nope.
No, it was there's a YouTuber that does kind of lore for that game as well. But it was just like really, really good. I'm going to share them with you, and I was gutted that they didn't make any more because I'd have listened to all of them. But that's it. I think I am excited. I think there's hopefully some more factions to come out. Be lovely. And talking about factions coming out, like we've got Spires, and I know you did a video recently, didn't you, for the new Spires, or a podcast for the new Spires rework?
Did you listen to that one?
I'm about 20 minutes in, so I've not listened to all of it yet.
Did you like the first 5 minutes?
I did. I enjoy all of the minutes of your podcast when I listen to it.
Oh, thanks, man. I listen to your podcast. I like it too.
That's good. Will you listen to this one that you're on? I never listen to podcasts I'm on, ever.
I try not to. So the ones I re-listen to for my own stuff is stuff I did as interviews, so I can analyze more what the guest said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the ones I listen to. Any of them that are with the regular crew, it's like I talk.
Exactly. But I think. So, what do you think about the new Spires rework?
Okay, so once again, first thing with City States, still a good, strong faction. You'll enjoy them locally. Yeah. I want to emphasize this. Once again, we got to win Adeptacon here. Yeah.
I mean, like genuinely, I think, Weavers, I don't know. I can't say too much about them. I think that, like you're saying, they're missing releases. So I was just looking through some of their profiles too. I think they just forgot to put cleave on any of the units. But looking at like every other faction, like Nords, Woodroom, City States, even Spires, like if you're just playing these locally, you're going to a local event, your aim isn't to win like a big major tournament, like they're absolutely fine. Like
you can go 4-0 with all these factions.
Absolutely. I mean, look, you came third at Chaos with Nords. I know it was a slightly different kind of. Oh, you came second. Sorry, you came second with Nords. Exactly. Yeah, listen to you saying, I pushed them as far as they could go. Like
I pushed them as far as they could go.
Pretty damn far. I play City States a lot. It's like any of these factions you can do well with. Like I was saying, this is like a really high end kind of, and also like you said before. Like you said, that if you were playing 100 Kingdom, like let's say you had let's take any of us out of it. If you had like a platinum ELO player playing against with City States, playing a gold ELO player of Sorcerer Kings, the Sorcerer Kings player has a good chance. But if you play better, you could still win. Like it's not out of the, it does come down very much to skill. What we're saying,
positioning your regiments in the right spot is going to matter more than you can't math hammer Conquest. What I quite enjoy, because the range, like you don't have a stat profile that says Tau railgun range everything. Like that's not a stat line in Conquest. Well, it is, but
it is pretty hard. I will say that was a bad example because it's pretty hard to position against Sorcerer Kings and Dweghom.
Because they fucking did that.
Yeah, just don't deploy. Just don't deploy your army, and you won't get hit.
Yeah, you won't get hit. But anyway, besides those two, you don't like. Conquest is kind of like one of the best defenses in Conquest is to not be in range of all.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, with like baseline, with everything in the game, you can kind of just do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's builds in Dweghom of like clans, Ardent, Steel Shaper, even the Sorcerer, depending on like what they take to do it with. You being out of range of your opponent's charge, clash, move, shoot, any of that stuff will still keep you alive. What is kind of just like a fundamental in this game, and also like a core concept and idea, and it's kind of like unwritten rules. Like, remember Cara Salone in War Machine, where she would just shoot someone in the head? She'd walk up turn one, activate her feat, and a bunch of hunters would kill the enemy warcaster if they were sitting on their deployment line.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea is to not have that, because that's like a negative play experience. It doesn't help anyone, and it doesn't show any skill at all. You kind of just walked up and shot a guy. Your only defense at that point was literally to just deploy an inch back effectively.
Yeah.
But now it becomes a game, and you can kind of like position to defend yourself, but you still die anyway. So anyway, Spires. Spires, I think, is a good spot. Spires, I would say, is around 100k level. I don't know if they're above or below, but they're on this tier because they're around 100k level.
Mm-hmm.
Spires has cleaned up a lot of its Rube Goldberg machine. Spires had a large cognitive load beforehand. Whenever I played into a Spires player, I would like build my deck in about a minute, and then I would put my feet up and watch my Spires opponent build his deck for the next 10 to 15, depending. And it's because of just how their mechanics worked. Now, they still have the mechanic. It is now a sub-faction rule. You can still kind of do it, but it's limited. But it's still good enough to do whatever you need to do and enjoy. Spires has a lot of good tools right now. They have their own Coatl. I will not address it as its proper title. It's a fucking Coatl. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's like a Timu Coatl. Like it's
the Timu Coatl. It's actually kind of better because it has 10 shots instead of 5. It shoots from like 2 less range, but you have 10 shots. Like, it's a Coatl.
I mean, we're really shouting out Rob at this point, but I think I'm in the camp with Rob where we both like, why is this not doing anything good with the Timu Coatl?
Yeah. So,
sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just replying to some people because I'm just getting down on messages. Anyway, the Coatl. So here's the thing about the Coatl. I 100% get why Spires players are pissed off about the Coatl, because before it was a Ferromancer in a wingsuit. What was really cool, interesting, did a lot of cool stuff. People loved it, and now it's just a Coatl.
Mm-hmm.
It's still really effective. It does really nice things. It moves around. It gets all that positioning. It's very fast. It can get on zones. It's a great medium score. It applies pressure. It can get to places really effectively. But at the end of the day, you are comparing a drug lord in his plane versus a Coatl.
Mm-hmm. I missed a drug lord.
And Mr. Drug Lord in his plane, like flying around delivering drugs to the world, like Santa Claus. He was a great guy. Everyone loved him.
Mm-hmm.
But now you just have like a regular ass recon plane, like cool.
Yeah, I will say like
so, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of Spires, because I haven't spoken about it on the podcast much at all, but like I think the Terraform kind of sums up the changes to Spires on the whole. Like it lost all of the really cool fun rules that I thought the Terraform had before, and now it's just all right. It's pretty, like you say, it's pretty effective. Like it's pretty good. Like I don't think the Terraform is bad. I have 2 sitting on my desk that I need to finish building. But yeah, they are now a lot more straightforward than they were.
Yeah, and I think Spires needed it. So the issue with Spires is that it was a large cognitive load. A lot of players couldn't get behind that and like really push what Spires was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Spires kind of ended up being a win more faction. Like if you're outskilling your opponent with Spires, you're probably outskilling them with everything else. And it was really devastating being outskilled by Spires because they rewarded that style of play. What made top players who play with Spires really effective, while a lot of like players who weren't as comfortable with them struggle with Spires, and they would either do other builds. Now Spires really just welcomes a lot of different players. They've like organized and gone over all the regiments. They've given them a secure slot, and to be honest, everything in Spires has a place except for onslaught drones. Because everything else in Spires just kind of says we're better than you. And to be honest, that's a fantastic position to be in your faction. If you have only one effective dud, like here's the thing, onslaught drones are still good. You can go play onslaught drones. They're great. But if you're trying to push the faction, I wouldn't grab onslaught drones. But I would, if I was just at my local game store. I've owned onslaught drones before. They're fine. Like you're gonna do well with onslaught drones. But if I'm looking at competitive play, I could take everything in this list or in this faction and do well with it. I think you have a wide variety of tools in the Biomancies, wide variety of tools in the Ferromancies. Ferromancer is kind of the go-to warlord currently, as you know, as more research and games are being played with new Spires. He's the defensive warlord. The Merchant Prince is interesting with his supremacy and his fate dice. Lineage Highborn, High Clone, they all have spots. Like Bound being your foot troops. Bound Clone's actually got a massive glow up.
Oh, incredible! Yeah,
massive glow up. Brute Drones got a massive glow up now that they're mainstay, and you can take just 4 of them.
Yeah, again, Brute Drones are incredible.
Yeah, Avatar are fine. The strain mechanic is kind of, I need a little bit extra damage to win this fight. Don't spam it. The consumption and Deso Beasts are very interesting and cool. Like there's a lot of nice things going on with Spires. They have enough tools. They have enough armor, like -1 defensive stuff in the Ferromancer, in the Deso drones to kind of crack armor. They have enough spots to get like AP1, Cleave 1, Brutal in there to do damage. Siegebreaker. I think the Siegebreaker went up 2 attacks, to be honest. I think he's 12 attacks now. Yes, he is. Pardon me, I just burped. You guys get to enjoy that. But 12 attacks and smites. That's ripping through Old Dominion. They're saving on 1s. That's ripping through Dweghom. They're probably not getting a goddamn save. So, and they also have like the speed and the flexibility to kind of fight Sorcerer Kings. They have enough tools to kind of like fight a lot of the other factions. The only issue I would ever say with them is that a lot of their baseline infantry of their drones and clones are defense 2 with a shield, wound 4. You die. It's kind of like you have the human stat line. They're Avatara, they're monsters, they're all their weird shit. Fucking solid. Take them. They're great. Love them. So, and the only reason why I wouldn't really rank Spires higher is because they're recent, they're new. People are still trying to play them and understand them. And the other thing is that they have the ability to be flexible. They can build a lot of pivot style lists. And so because they're building pivots, they're answering questions. They're not asking a question, as we previously discussed.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely
it. They build really good pivots. And I think they have more on-table flexibility than 100K. Just because of their Ferromancer and Biomancers and their various strains. While 100K is like, I have all the bubbles in the world, blah, 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 blah. Indom, blessed, re-rolling 6s on clashes and defense rolls, like, eat my dick.
I mean, I just assume everything in 100K has Indom 2 all the time. That's just generally my assumption when I've played them, and I do think that I think Spires, what they did lose as well from before was like some of their speed and stuff, but a lot of that came down from the Ferromancies changing.
You can still get burnout from the Ferromancer, get +1 speed, but I think Avatar movement 6 now instead of 7. So you got these 2-legged guys not outrunning a horse. Centaurs are 7. A lot of the drones and clones are like 5s. Check out Vanguard clones. I think you're still a 6. Yep. Infiltrators are still a 6.
Yeah.
Marksmen are 5. Like you can still got good stuff in here. Bounder 6. Actually, Bound got a big glow up. I'm not gonna lie. Play Bound clones. Bring them in a block. So there's a lot of good stuff in Spires, and right now it's really just like kind of finding a good solid list that people enjoy. I think they're in that research phase. They have a lot of tools. They have a lot more things they bring to the table than, let's say, Weavers and Nords for sure. I would rank them higher than like Wadroon and City States if you really wanted to go that way.
Mhm.
I still think they sit under 100K because 100K has a solid, like has a better baseline plan if they take the right units into these various matchups.
Mhm.
But Spires can just flex wherever it wants to flex.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So yeah, that's kind of that. All right, I'm gonna take this drink.
Yeah, I think that's
into our
the big ones.
Oh, go ahead.
I would say no. I think I generally agree with Spires. I've only played a few games with them, but I think they're really strong. Like the Desolation Beast certainly is interesting as much as I hate the model. It's the first time in the game we've seen something ignore evasion, I believe, right?
Wrong.
Oh,
Actually,
oh.
in old Dweghom, there was an upgrade what would ignore the invasion during a duel.
Oh, that no one duels in this game, Matt. No one's no one listening to this.
Dueled before.
No, no one listening to this podcast has ever accepted a duel. Right? They've always declined them. That's how duels work in this game. But yeah, I apart from the one time when I accepted and killed a Coningir with my what's it called? Archimandrite. It was incredible. It was like the best game I've ever played.
Yeah, because you take no resolve, so it's like, I could just live this weirdly enough.
So good. But yeah, I think that they're incredibly good. The new Spires stuff. It's interesting. I think that it feels. I mean, again, we're not necessarily talking about the Spires update, but it feels a bit like when they had the big Nords change. Like, I think the new Nords change obviously is better than the old Nords doc that we had. I think there was quite a big change in playstyle, I think, for a lot of people. And we're just going to get used to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just going through a little bit of growing pains of people trying to figure it out, solve the puzzle of like what's really solid, what's good to take, how to kind of play the new stuff, because it hasn't had the time to grow and breathe yet.
Yeah.
So but just like reading the document, playing a game or two, I'm like, yeah, it's solid.
Yeah,
these guys are good. They have tools. They will be a fun faction.
I do think they will struggle into Dweghom and Sorcerer Kings, like we mentioned some of the other factions.
Yeah,
I think it can be a bit rough.
I'm just going to kill the thing the Biomancer and Ferromancer is sitting in.
I mean, to be fair, yeah. I mean, the Biomancer's in the boot drones. Sorry, the Ferromancer's in the boot drones. That's where they're going to sit. But yeah, it's
but
rough.
You don't have any anti-magic tech, so you're just
exactly
gonna get blasted full bore in the face.
Exactly, 100%. But yeah, I think we go to
your pick. You get to pick one of these top four.
In this case, I think I agree with your order from left to right. I think we go to OD first, because I think that OD are really interesting in that I think that they, like we said before, they of course ask a question, but I do think they are the least, what's the word I'm looking for?
Egregious?
Yeah, like they are the most fair faction to play. Of these top four, these are the most fair faction, I think, to play into. They play the most fair game.
It's still a brutal game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah. I'm gonna admit to something. The Old Dominion list, you have to play a very tight, clean game to beat.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it with other factions, with not the top lists, but you need to understand that the list so Old Dominion is kind of going to build one or two ways, and that is going to be Zilliarch with a Thoric Eater, or it's going to be Fallen Divinity. Fallen Divinity, I believe the list is going to put on a lot of early pressure with the Fallen Divinity coming in, getting to tier 2 as quickly as possible, getting the rest of the army to tier 2 as quickly as possible, and then going to tier 3 on one of the two when the time is required.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to put a lot of pressure. The Fallen Divinity, to deal with it, you need to set up a game plan to kill it. You need to do one of two things. You need to have a game plan to kill it and have effective regiments that can blast it and engage with it and kill it effectively and kind of kill it within like one or two turns, or just have a unit of, let's say, blowtoes and just keep shooting it until it dies.
Mm-hmm.
Or you need to trap it onto a zone. And what I mean by that is you need to kill everything else around it. So if it ever comes off the zone, you can sneak something in the back to score the zone and then just make it chase you around the table and, keep it away from you, kind of thing. Make it waste its activations chasing you down, stalling it out, and kill the rest of your opponent's army. That's kind of the Fallen Divinity there. As for the real scary thing, we get into
Big
Ziliark
slug.
and the Slug.
Mhm.
Big Slug. So the Big Slug is 30 wounds, defense 3, and it has 4 avenues of damage. It has impacts, clash, free spell, trample. And then I think it can take wounds. Can it give itself Orb of Death too for some fucking ungodly reason?
Oh, I can't remember. I know it can give itself more trample, I believe, can't it?
I know it can give. Is it Unholy Ground? No, Unholy Ground is not it. Where's that thing that tells me? Oh, it's the draw event. Yeah, so it gives trample +2 to its charge and generates 1 power token for every 2 enemy sands it kills. Wow, that's actually pretty good.
During its activation,
and
yeah,
then
it's really good.
Target enemies reroll successful morales within 12. So you can do some gnarly things with it. So the thing with that is like its trample isn't really high, its impact isn't really high, its clash isn't really high, and its spell isn't really high. But all together, you can just kind of like whip out a bunch of stuff. You can shoot a spell, do a bunch of damage, charge in, do a bunch of impacts, or you could be like engage, clash, or spell, clash, kill, charge, hit, impacts, trample. Like, you know, you can kind of chain a bunch of these together because you have so many sources of damage. You're kind of like lumbering a little bit. You can kind of get stuck on things because of how wide you are or how long you are. That'd probably be the best bet to say. Like, I've kind of jammed one of these up by engaging the stuff beside it and kind of a little bit back in the midpoint of it. So it can't actually wheel to engage because it'll hit something that is engaged and it's like kind of just stuck there. So that's really funny. But like it's an unmovable block, and what they're doing is they're bringing a unit of legionnaires behind it / beside it who are going to sit on. It's going to take over a zone, and a unit of legionnaires is going to sit on that zone to actually score it, while it sits on the zone to contest and keep everyone off of it and do the actual heavy lifting. It's anti-magic. It's because of it's a wizard, you know, a priest. It's interfering. You can reach out and touch stuff, and what you're kind of wanting to do is try to mitigate as much of its offensive capabilities into you, either through hindering terrain, anti-magic tech, dread, you know, anything like that to just reduce. And it just does a solid job of just kind of taking over one side of the table. Then we get into the rest of the list. What is the actual kind of hammer punch is not Thorkeeters. Centaur, melee centaurs. I'm not going to say their name. You can say their name.
Prodromi.
I was going to call them Parmesan. That's how you say Parmesan cheese in the Rick and Morty universe. I was watching Rick and Morty. Prodromi. So you have the Centaur Prodromi, you have a Thanatoi, and you have Varangian Guard. These are all sitting in the Ziliark's Warband. You're probably taking 2 Centaur. You're probably taking a Thanatoi, and you're probably taking a Varangian Guard. You might swap it out, you know, whatever that player wants to do. And you're doing that, and you have your free clash with his supremacy. So you're going to be, you could march, charge, clash, and you can threat like, let me check their speed. 17 inches on a march charge. Like, just like, wow, that's pretty far. You might want to roll for it. Do they have a banner? They do not. They do not have unstoppable. So like maybe it's like, you know, an extra 2. But even then, 17 inches is pretty far away. The Varangian Guard are charging like, I think they're 12 inches. Where is it? Varangian Guard, where are you? They're all the way at the bottom. Yeah, 5, 10, 11. So they're 11, 12. They got a standard bearer. They can do a little further. But the other problem is if you're kind of like doing a pressure, where, you know, you're bringing up, you're doing pressure, you should probably be playing Curatids, the shooty statues.
Yeah.
Put them in the middle, like Horns of the Bull. Do some shooting. You have 20-inch range at AP2. That's going to do damage. That's going to do work. You're going to be putting points into your Dark Power Pool to get them to tier 2 so they can draw event, take aim, shoot with more shots. And you're going to be just kind of hitting stuff with AP2, forcing your opponent to come closer to you so you can either A, shoot really far from far away and hit your opponent before they hit you, doing enough damage that they can't clash back and win, or you're going to drag them forward close enough if they're getting over aggressive, and you're just going to charge them and hit with that double clash and just rip through them even quicker.
Oh, but
happen,
if you give them a double clash, if you give them a double clash, you probably lose the game. As long as, you know, if your opponent manages to capitalize on it, you're probably losing the game off that.
Especially with Thanatoy, 6 attacks with Flurry on Clash 3, especially with that charge. Like, okay, you're going up to 4, your Clash 4 Flurry, doing that twice. You're killing regiments here. So now you have to play that. You have to draw this line where you're kind of edging your opponent to try and bait out the feet, to bait them out so that they come across, but you're also trying to set up defensively that you force them to go through hindering terrain to reduce impacts and inspire. You're forcing them to not get all 4 of those units onto you at once. You want 1 or 2. You kind of start doing stuff like that. You start doing your own counter shooting, your own counter spell casting to like put that damage onto your opponent so that they are forced to do it. So there's stuff like that. And it comes down to they are the last bastion of triple activation with the March Charge Clash or the Charge Double Clash, that they have a lot of flexibility because you could just reform Charge Clash. You could, and I've already mentioned it. So they have a lot of work with that. You can't do that way. So because they're the last holdout of triple activation, and we know how strong triple activation was from Madrun and Sorcerer Kings, they're up there. They have the defensive capabilities because they're not taking resolve. They have enough damage in their stat line. So another big thing that happened was that the Centaurs and the Varangian Guard all went up +1 attack in the October update last year. So now they're more effective at dealing damage, especially at double attacks. That's an extra 3 hits across. Well, it's an effective 6 hits across the board, or 6 dice rolls. So there's stuff like that. What's adding on to them? I think they're out of these 4 big guys, they're probably the fairest. But you cannot underestimate them. If you underestimate them, if you do not respect them, you will die. You will not cross go. You will not collect $200.
Yeah,
that's kind of what players are dealing with. And those are kind of like the 2 archetype lists in Old Dominion. You don't really see who are the other warlords? You don't really see the Strategos guy much because triple activations is OP. You don't see the Archimandrite because triple activation is OP. Heretican provides enough support. So yeah, there's and that's kind of it really with them. I don't know. Do you have anything to add? I'm gonna drink more water.
No, I think that's spot on. That's kind of my experience with the Old Dominion. I think it's probably worth mentioning. Like, I think of the 4, this is the one that you can, if you're playing any of the factions, you can still have a pretty good game and a pretty good chance to beat if you play better than your opponent. Like you say,
this one's out of the top 4 here. I think this one's going to be your best bet for that skill gap.
Yeah, I think that's it. I also think this is the one that's the least likely to get a big hit. Oh, that's not true. They're going to lose triple activation.
No, it's going to get a big hit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're losing. They're losing the triple
Everything
activation.
Yeah, so it's the last holdout. Remember?
Of course, yeah, and that's the thing. Like I say, yeah, I think this is the most fair one that you're playing into, even with the triple activation. I also think it is ridiculous that and this is a complete aside, but the Theocrator can't really be your warlord because the supremacy ability doesn't do anything.
What are you talking about? I thought it was the same supremacy ability as the.
It is. It gives you a free. It gives you a free spellcast.
From a free additional spellcast, okay. Maybe for 1 free spellcast.
Yeah, but they already have a free spellcast, and you can only do 3 activations in a.
But a free additional gets you around that.
Oh, did they change it?
Yeah, check the supremacy. Free additional.
Brilliant, fantastic. So all of you, it's good. You could do that. Yeah, fantastic. They fixed it. So yeah, you can in fact do a second spell. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah,
Old Dominion OP.
Yeah, very good.
The thing is, to understand it, you need to kind of get punched in the face by this a couple times to understand the threat range on it, what you need to kill efficiently, and then bring the appropriate tools to start kind of hammering the regiments that can triple activate. Like, the Centaurs don't like being shot. They're going to stay far away, but if you have long enough range to kind of shoot them and kind of try and bait them in when they actually go to hit your shooting to make it stop, because that's the thing what's forward, and you have something sitting in the back being like, okay, I'm waiting. The moment you kill those guys, I'm going to hit you and kill you. And if you don't do it, I'm going to keep blasting you in the face. Like,
I think, yeah.
If you've never seen it before, there's a high chance you're going to lose, to be honest. But
right.
if you understand what's going on, you have to play a very tight game to beat it.
My first game into the Theocrator, like I lost because I really undervalued how good that model was.
Being a brick of wounds.
Yeah, it just doesn't die. It will and also kind of the additional things it can do. Like, the additional shards are great, but the +2 to its charge distance means it's like, but essentially move 8 on a charge. That's pretty good. But it's the reroll successful morale runes as well. You activate that unit first, and all of your units in that part of the board are re-rolling successful morale, and that can be absolutely devastating into this army.
Yeah, it's another good tool in the shed.
Yeah,
it's the old Dominion list. It's not just straight damage. It's got tools. It's got a hero deacon. It's got shooting. It's got cultists to kind of like not get in the way, but throw bottles. They're just bottle kids. Throw bottles at people, and they got legionnaires to get in the way, to stall out and die for dark power.
Mm-hmm.
You got good dark power generator with the hero deacon and the Thoraketer. You have damage. You have tools.
Yeah. Yes,
so
I think so. Good.
We're gonna get into Sorcerer Kings and Dweghom. So Dweghom edges out over Sorcerer Kings because Dweghom can touch the Sorcerer Kings casters more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason why. For Sorcerer Kings, this one's a mess. I've played into Mud. So currently, Fire's still good. You can play Fire, you can enjoy Fire, but Sorcerer Kings is effectively 4 armies in one faction, and then you're combining usually 2 of them together to do what you want. The big ones that are going to be mean is Mud, what is water and earth, and Mist, what is water and air. So that gets into the nonsense of this is going to be a bigger chat because Sorcerer Kings is just so wild because it's 4 armies in one faction. Sorcerer King's Fire is doing the same thing it was doing at Heos. It's just not triple activating, I think they still can heal a ton of wounds off.
Mm-hmm.
They're no longer rapid volleying on 1s and 2s, but they can still do a ton of damage. Like, they're still solid. As for Mud, we get to the Mud Hut. The Earth, we get into their rituals. So let's start with this one. Spiteful Winds is the Tau unlimited range railgun. You cannot hide from it. You're just going to take damage.
Mm-hmm.
The Geyser will trigger any water template. So that's existing water or the water template you create through your rituals. It'll just do like 6 AP ones onto you. Take damage. Earthquake, I think, is even worse because it just targets zonal terrain.
Yes. Yeah.
Earth. So, where is it? Yeah, pick a piece of zonal terrain. So in Mud, you will drop the water token onto an enemy regiment or where a fight's happening so that you're not in and your opponent is, so they're getting hit by -1 clash. You're then going to rotate Geyser and Earthquake until that regiment is dead. And then you're going to move the water template and repeat. And this is called the colon cleanser because it's just squirting water and feces up your asshole. And it is super brutal to play into. There's really no contesting it. There's no way to shut down the ritual. There's no way to stop the ritual. The ritual can be placed anywhere on the board. So if you have a unit that has a character that's on the back end of a zone and it's got 1 stand left, they can just drop a water template on you and just blast you in your zone.
Yeah, it's incredibly rough.
And then you have the Mud Hut, who's going to be sitting in the Earth template, regenerating health. The Maharaja, who's sitting on top of him, is going to be regenerating health. It's Dread. It's Oblivious. What's the defense? I think it's got Harden. It has Harden 1. It's got 20 runes on a D3 R3 stat line. I think the Maharaja gives it +1. Yeah, it'll take his, so it'll be resolved 4.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be healing it. It's going to heal like 7 wounds a turn. And you're going to be hit. And you're going to be hit by Dread, and then they're going to drop a water template on top of that Mud template. And you're just going to not do anything while you get colon cleansed and have -1 clash on top of Dread. So, like, good luck, my friend.
Just a quick.
It's gonna be an over overcommitment of resources to kill that thing, what's not going to go towards the rest of the list, what is then going to be hitting you.
Quick question on the on a rules question. I don't know if you know. The Court of Earth spell Sunder makes a objective zone a piece of hindering terrain. Does that make it count as zonal terrain as well?
This spell requires 3 success, so target objective zone counts as a piece of hindering terrain. In addition to being no, because it doesn't say it's zonal. While if you look at Dweghom and you look at Magnetic Seep from the Magma School, it says nominate a point. That area counts as a piece of erupting zonal terrain.
Can you be hindering and not zonal?
Yeah.
I guess you can, of course. Yeah, of course you can.
It just said you're hindering terrain. So yeah, Sorcerer Kings is basically just going to be hitting you with damage from stuff you cannot counter. Like you can't interfere the rituals. They're going to have more card activation than you. They're going to be getting their stuff on early into goals or into the archers who are going to start pelting your shots. They're going to be setting up like their elementals. The stat line on the elementals is actually pretty solid. A majority of them, I think, are just D3 R3 with 5 wounds. What is a very solid stat line to just kind of like take hits and survive. Yeah, like the Sardar are D3 R3 with 5 wounds. And if you're playing water and earth, you're taking Sardar and you're going to have all these interference bubbles up all over the place. The way to beat this is to just not bother with the Mahat. Just try and treat it like a fallen divinity and zone it out and just try and kill everything around it. The problem with these pieces of like the earth and water terrain pieces that they're putting out is that they kind of just chase you around with them. It's very hard to get out of the way before your opponent activates a geyser or an earthquake, especially if there's a fight happening. Like, my unit of Sardar engaging your unit of brute drones. I drop a water template. You're -1 clash. I'm hitting you with the Sardar. You're getting geysered by the water template. It's kind of one of those. Then you get an earthquake. Like, oh, okay, they're dead, and engagement. Or you drop it in like where a bunch of stuff is fighting, so that you can kind of pick and choose which one you're going to hit if someone tries and escapes. There's stuff like that, and I think you can. One of the water spell or rituals, I'm just throwing my phone on the ground, is make the water template like a 6-inch zone instead of a 3-inch zone. So it's like super wide, and you're like, oh boy. But yeah, that's kind of happening there. We get into the mist side of things where you're running. Where is it? The Trindavadas, the melee one or the shooting one. And you get into like, once again, evasion 3, free spell casting, may perform a spell casting action during its activation of the character. So like it can walk up, and does it have a free shoot? It adds +1 to its volley characters for the next one if it takes the action. It has aim shots. So it just automatically gets, so it's always aiming. It's loose formation. It's torrential fire. What does Eye of the Storm do? Is this the one where, it can perform a volley while engaged? If they used an air ritual, they can perform a free volley or free spell cast. So you could ritual, walk, shoot, cast. You got lightning bolt and lifting winds, and you have something else in here that I'm pretty sure is elemental conduct or something. I swear to God, there's something in here. It gets it up to evasion 3. It's a wizard 7 on top of that with lightning bolt. Jesus. Air elemental. There it is. I knew it was around here. If it marches once, it gets +1 evasion. So like it's moving around. It's going to be volley 3. And it's just kind of like popping caps, shooting out lightning bolts, having fun. And you kind of want to engage it in melee as quickly as possible, but it's still going to be shooting and lightning bolting you once you're in there. But it's got a solid stat line. What's it? 17 wounds on D3 R4. Yeah. And getting up to evasion 3. If it moves, like, just becomes really difficult. You're once again, you're playing water. So you're geysering people to death.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of these things flying around.
You're probably -1 to hit it. Yeah. Probably water.
It just becomes super annoying. Yeah. And you're just like, wow, this is awesome. I love this.
It's also worth noting.
I'm starting to sound a little negative. I'm just letting you guys know, like, this is the rough part of the game.
And
this is why these factions are at the top.
Air is still, I think, also the last place. It's worth noting that you can still do the old fluid formation, reform, then charge. Because you can do it still with if you have like an air Raj, for instance, in with a unit like the Initiates, you can cast is it Air Step? What's it called? Yeah, well, you can cast the Reform.
Homing? No, not homing winds. Air step. You can cast
Air Step. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you can cast Air Step, which means you can basically reform your large unit of Initiates, and then you can entourage into the Initiates and immediately charge with them. So it also automatically goes off because you're targeting the Initiates. So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love Sorcerer Kings. Basically, like the strengths of Sorcerer Kings is that it's got speed, it's got damage, it's got a lot of non-direct damage, it's got a lot of triple activations still. Like the Trinavadas, it's got a free. It can spell cast. It can gain free spell casting through its rituals. So there's a lot of stuff like that that's still around in Sorcerer Kings, and it's just, they have a lot of tools. They have so many tools compared to a lot of the other factions that it makes it incredibly tough to deal with.
I'd like everyone to know that I played Sorcerer Kings since they were released. I've always played Sorcerer Kings, and so it's okay for me. I mean, genuinely, I played them the first LGT they were released. I've played them. I've had them since the start. I've always played them, so it's completely fine for me to keep playing them.
No.
I might even paint them.
Might even paint them. Perfect.
But I guess so I think that's it. Yeah, you're either looking at like a load of birds, Temu Lord of Changes, which is really unfair. I mean, that name that people were calling them, the Trinavata, really did tickle me. I found it really funny, but those are absolutely gorgeous models as well.
Oh yeah, they look great.
Which you can't say for the Marid because they're awful, but they're also really really strong. So. I guess, yeah. Well, I guess we'll quickly move on to your next favourite faction, which is the
Dweghom.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dweghom, Arden and Clans is good. They're fun. Enjoy them. You can do well with them. But let's get on to the mean stuff.
Well, I'd say, like, genuinely, like, if you want to play Clans, they are the dumb person, like, I don't say this with any insult. They are the dumb person. I want to play big chunky guys, and I want to step on zones, and I want to not die. That's what they do. They do it very well. It's a great list. You just exist. It's very easy to play. If you want to start Dweghom, knock yourself out, pick them up. It probably won't get nerfed. It's pretty all right.
Yeah. Clans probably not going to get nerfed. Ardent probably not going to get nerfed. Steel Shaper Warlord got a bit of a nerf on how his healing is done. So that's fine. It's still good. Steel Shaper is still strong. I still love the dozen eggs list. And the chip healing you got from his every time you awaken, and you awaken a ton in Steel Shaper lists. But and that's really solid. Then we get into the Tempered Sorcerer, and we get into turn 2. I can touch the edge of the table. There's no hiding spot. There's no place to run, and it gets incredibly brutal because the Infernal Automata now have command stands. Due to the changes on how reforms work, every regiment in the game has a command stand, even if it doesn't have a leader. So that means the Infernal Automata are a valid target for the Tempered Sorcerer Supremacy. And this allows the Dweghom player to shoot fireballs out of them. But more importantly, it allows the Magma Sorcerer to drop a Magnetic Seep or an erupting piece of terrain on a piece of zonal terrain and blast stuff from there. They can then pyroclast out of it, they can erupt it, they can just do a ton of damage. And because it's so far away, because you can displace the Infernal Automata 14 plus 16, what is that? 20. Sorry, I'm just running the numbers again.
30 something, yeah. It's
14 plus 16. I'm getting tired. That's why. So there's 30. Then we're gonna add another 10. Because that's the range of the Magnetic Seep or the erupting piece of terrain.
Yep.
Then we're going to add in, let's say we use Seep, so that's going to be another 3. So there's 43. and then we're going to add another 5 from there, so that's 48. You can touch anywhere on the table.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, they were really good. Like, Dweghom were incredibly good before they made that change to command stands, and now they're just bonkers. Like, they are incredible.
The issue with this is it comes down to like a wargaming fundamental of if you're out of range, you should be safe from all damage.
Yeah.
There is nowhere to hide from Sorcerer Kings and Dweghom.
Yeah.
You're going to get popped by 3 to 4 pyroclasts, and a lot of like wizards sit in regiments that tend to not be durable. Like they're archers or they're just back end infantry. Like raiders are not a super durable regiment. Devani archers are not a super durable regiment. Force grown drones or let's say what is it? Deso drones. They're not a very durable regiment. Just getting straight up blasted by like pyroclast after pyroclast will just eventually whittle you down and kill you.
Yeah.
It means you lose that regiment, lose that character. Now the Dweghom player has a card advantage on you, and you just haven't been able to establish any position. Like, it's fine if things have a long range, but not long range where it can just like hit the back end of the table and start blowing stuff up and not really giving your opponent a chance to establish board position. And that's what this is doing. And to be honest, this is an NPE, or what is it? A negative player experience. I think the Sorcerer Kings, like, now this is my opinion. I'm doing an opinion piece here. The Sorcerer King rituals, Spiteful Winds, Geyser, Earthquake are all NPEs because you can't defend yourself from them. The 48-inch range off Infernal Autonoma is also an NPE. And then it's like, well, what if I just run a light super far forward? What if I'm a Mounted Squire? I run a light super far forward. Infernal Automata are like defense 3, resolve 3 with 5 wounds. Like, they're pretty durable, and evasion 2. And if you're doing that, that means they don't have to go up as far, and they can just sit 18 inches away from you, have drop the seep, all the casting is done, and burn that regiment to death, and then move forward more. If they do get to this 40-inch range, let's say you're at the back end of the table, they then proceed to just walk backwards. They're just going to double march backwards, get into the position where they can then also keep this seep going and keep doing the damage. And you kind of just like when you enter the room, you're immediately set on fire and said, okay, now run to the other side. Like that's basically what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely agree with what you said about Sorcerer Kings. I feel like this is worse because it happens on turn 2.
Yeah. Sorcerer Kings needs a bit of setup. Yeah. But once it's going, it's like, I'll get fucked and die.
Yeah. But no, like this is literally like you might have like one regiment on the board. Like, there's a pretty good chance, like, you know, you've had one light, you've got one light on the board. You've then rolled your reinforcements. You're bringing on another 2 or 3 units around to one of them's just dead. Like, and there's nothing you can do. Like, there's no way to avoid just getting absolutely domed by, you know, random Dweghom magic. At least if Sorcerer, I mean, and this is a very tenuous at least, but at least if Sorcerer Kings, it's like turn 3 or 4 that it starts happening. It's, you know, you might have a heavy on the board. You know, it's
you might have a bit more of a board position, but once again, you hit the water, the mud, and you're just like, yes, I am now doing 0 damage into my opponent who's still blasting me.
I mean, like, the other thing is as well, like, you know, looking at loads of these lists, like, there's a pretty good chance that even if you have like wizards in your list, they might not be on the board when this all happens. Yeah. Because I mean, like, you can do this from the second action. Like, action 1, you just, like, let's say you're the Dweghom player. You win priority, your turn 2, you run your Autonoma forward, your opponent then has 1 card, and then you're like, fantastic, I'm just casting magic out of my fucking arse of Automata. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, and then you get into the rest of the list. Like, Steelforge are, I agree with people, they're overtuned.
Yeah,
they're 210, and like for their stat line, they're getting more attacks than the 6 attacks. They're Cleveland, like, they're the perfect regiment to just beat people to death with. They have it all. They're the apex of brawling. Tons of attacks. Cleave 1, defense R4. They can get to harden 1. They're doing it all, and they just don't care. And they're a medium. Like, they have a stat line of like what you would think of a heavy, but they're a medium, so they're getting on the table. What else is really solid? Fireforge are really solid. Just the 16 shots. Like, you walk up, you walk up generating tokens, you get within range, and then you just sit there, take aim, and start blasting. You start throwing 16 dice at your opponent. Pretty sure it's 16? Yeah, 5, 10, 15, 16. Yeah. So you kind of just start blasting people. They're really good. Lost are a really solid medium just because like they're lower on the defense compared to Steelforge. They're higher on the wounds, but they're just great as like a cheap brute to kind of get in there and do some work. Fire was it Hellbringer Drake is really good. The Stone Forge is really good. Lots of anti-shooting tech out of there. Healing from the Steel Shaper. Like Dweghom has a lot going on for it. Lost Ancestors are fantastic. They may not always die fighting, but when they do, dear God, save yourself. So, there's tons of stuff like that. Steel Skull is really good, decreasing defense. Getting rid of Harden really helps Dweghom a lot, just kind of break through armor on their own way. So Dweghom has a lot of tools, and it's a sweeper style. Like you're just getting blasted right out of the gate. You walk onto the table, I might as well just like pour lighter fluid on you, let you on fire, and say, okay, let's play our game. Like that's basically what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's going to feel, and I don't agree with it. I don't think it's
it's rough.
Once again, this is an opinion piece.
No, that's fair. Like it's not
and like and once again we get back to Dweghom is in a really good spot.
Mm.
Tempered Steel Shaper can be beaten. Clans can be beaten. Arden can be beaten. Even Tempered Sorcerer, if you're not just if your opponent's not going hard on the Infernal Autonomas to arc spells out of, or if they're fire tends to like do more upwards damage, but doesn't reach as far. That's kind of fine. It's just this one interaction in Dweghom that's causing a lot of problems.
I think it goes back to it's like an old well-known thing from War Machine back in the day that you shouldn't be able to sling damage into your opponent's deployment zone at the start of the game.
Yeah.
And like Conquest is slightly different because we deploy over so many turns, but you should not be able to be targeting models at your opponent's backboard edge as you are coming onto the board. Like that is a design issue because it's not fun. And it's really easy it's really easy to abuse, isn't it? Like
Sorcerer Kings does it, Dweghom does it, and that's why it's damage with minimal to very little counter, I would say.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And that's becomes a problem. Because like all these other factions we've talked about, like everything from like that middle tier and lower all has counters, has valid play into. You can do stuff on the table to win those games, even if you are, if you're the higher skill player or you have a better understanding or you brought the right tools kind of thing. Well, as you start getting into this top end, it just starts becoming a point of you have less and less space for error.
Yeah.
And if you do screw up, you will die. Like Old Dominion, you got to ride a fine line or you will die. Yeah. Sorcerer Kings, you can't get bogged down, but you're going to get bogged down anyway, and your backline is going to get destroyed, and then your front line is going to get destroyed. Dweghom, you are lit on fire the moment you come on to, and then we hit Yoroni.
Yeah, so I want to give a bit of an introduction to this current Yoroni list because, keen listeners would remember that there were some problems at Chaos. Maybe not problems, but, they were pretty strong. Yoroni were a really powerful faction.
Hold on. If we go check the Conquest Parabellum, Heos Final, if we go look at the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 Yoroni.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
And then Sorcerer Kings was also in the top. There was 1, 2, 3 Sorcerer Kings.
Yeah,
Sorcerer Kings in the top 10.
And you'll see that the Sorcerer Kings list, now not as a faction, but the list, the fire list that everyone was playing, that got nerfed. They're not as good anymore. And Parabellum also nerfed Yoroni because we all thought the Spider was too good. So of course, what ended up happening with these nerfs is that you now play 4 Spiders in a list. Because of these successful nerfs that happened, and maybe a 5th monster as well. Like honestly, so I played a 3 Spider list, and I'm not playing it anymore because if I was going to Adeptacon, I probably would, to be honest. But I am
Remember, the
moderating
whole point
myself.
Of this episode is to win.
Yeah.
A 6-round event.
No, but I'll be really honest. I have 3 Spiders. I played this list in an event. And it is not a particularly fun list to play or play against. Like, it is incredible. Like, defense 3 Spiders evasion 3 monsters is obnoxious. And I honestly actually just don't know how to beat it with most factions. Like, unless your opponent does something really dumb, it's pretty much a walk in the park.
It's just sheer volume.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why 100 Kingdoms, City States, counters spiders, because it's no longer trying to play their game. It's no longer going, oh, you have anti-magic tech. Well, I'm not bringing offensive casting wizards. Oh, you have anti-shooting tech with loose formation. I'm not bringing a ton of guns. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm evasion 3. I have 30 plus attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see your saves. Oh, and we're blessing this, and we're going to be like Clash 3, Clash 4. We're going to bless this. Boom. Here is, let's say we have 35 total. Here's 30 hits. The spider is 17 wounds, top of my head.
Something like that. Yeah. I think.
Saving on 3s, you fail half. There's 15. You have 2 health left, and now you're going to take resolve. You are dead.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are factions that can deal with it.
Yeah, and that's why 100K and City States have the tools to deal with it and do well into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think 100 Kingdoms has the best match for sure. I think City States, of course, has game into it. I still think that. I mean, again, I've not played into too much City States with it. I feel like they have like a handful of units that are going to do well into these spiders, but you have 4 of them and probably a Daiokai. So if you are playing well and you can piece trade into them, I think you should probably come out on top as well, quite easily. It's just, yeah, it's mad. It's really really strong. This list at the moment. I think we should have a betting pool on how many spiders there will be at Adeptacon.
We're gonna beat 100K Ashen Dawn from a couple years back.
I think so.
For the full 88.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, that's not true. I would be surprised if there were 88 spiders at Adeptacon. Oh
God, it's so many.
But yeah, it's really good. So I played a game with them. So I felt really bad for my round 2 opponent at this tournament because round 1 he got a bye. Round 2 he played into me. He was playing Dweghom. Post update, I think, pretty strong. He had lent into a bit of a gun line. And so he had like 4 units of Fire Forged, he had some Ballistae, and I had Evasion 3 loose formation spiders. And I was like, I'm really sorry, yeah, this isn't going to be a fun game for you. Like, I don't think I lost a single unit, and it was absolutely not a skill thing on my part. It was just, I've got Evasion 3 loose formation spiders, and you have guns, like, sorry.
Yeah, he hit a stat wall.
Yeah.
And didn't have the tools in his toolbox to overcome them.
It was a rough game, I think, for me. But I think you will hit a lot with. I think it feels a lot more unfair than, like we mentioned earlier. Old Dominion at least feels like you are doing something. When you're fighting Old Dominion, you're making attacks. You're maybe taking stands off with you, and because the monsters don't lose effectiveness until they're dead. Plus, they can get +1 defense. Plus, they can get healing back 4 wounds. It's a rough old game out there. 5 monsters. Who'd have thought this lovely rank and file, Conquest game. Plus, a medium madness.
Yeah. Okay, pause the recording and edit this out because I got to go hit the bathroom.
Okay. do 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 do. Good. Yeah, go ahead. You go. How do we beat spiders other than playing 100 Kingdoms?
Oh, we're recording again?
Oh, we're recording. We're going through.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so we gotta talk about why they're so good and like what is Monster Mash and what is Monster Mash doing. So Monster Mash is most effective when you have a monster character in your roster in your faction. Then the second thing that makes them good is triple activating monsters. So Wadroon is a prime example of this because they get free shooting. They have a monster character in the Winglord, So they can move, shoot, or they can charge, or so shoot, charge, clash, and do a bunch of effective damage that way. So they have, what is it? Impact, clash, shooting as 3 sources of damage. They're very flexible, they're very maneuverable, and they take up a very small portion of the table. So the line of engagement is wherever that line is drawn on the table, where both your and your opponent armies are going to be fighting, or that's the line of engagement. Because regiments tend to be 8 inches long, roughly, like effectively, they take up a good chunk of the table as you try and layer them beside each other. While you can put more monsters in a more condensed portion of the table to kind of hammer punch your way through. And because they are square, they're much more easier to move around and be maneuverable. Then that gets into like the spider itself. It's a character. It's a character where you don't have to pay like the character tax of a lot of characters that kind of get acted as dead draws or attacks onto regiments to open, like, to get that warband, to buy those units kind of thing. Because the monster is a character, it's now effective on the table and it adds to the wound pool of your entire army. Because traditionally, all the characters, unless you are a monster, do not add wounds to the regiment. This results in just, you're getting a lot of benefits just for a monster character. And then they have the triple activations. The spiders get, is it a free spellcast or a free additional? I know. Yeah, so let me just quickly read it. They may perform a free additional spell casting, but they cannot cast the same spell twice. They got that added. So they can, and they have 2 very good utility spells. They have the heal and they have the +1 defense. Let's see what else they got.
I mean, they really have 2 spells.
Yeah, they basically have two spells. Yeah, like cannot activate as part of an entourage, and you can't triple activate, or like not as great as healing and +1 defense. I mean, the defense 4 spider.
I was going to say, there are a handful of situations you may want to entourage, but if you want to help your opponent out by stopping them from entouraging, you should probably just cast that on them, on a void of self. Yeah, it's. I mean, this is a really interesting one to come back to about like another point, but entouraging, I have learned, is almost always the incorrect thing to do.
Not necessarily.
No. Not always.
Unless you have a reason.
No.
Like, it's like, oh, I gotta rally a unit of trolls. I gotta rally my regiment. I gotta
activate
a drawband on the character. Like that's when you do it. But most of the time, like you can just get away with dead drawing shit.
Exactly. Well, that's it. I mean, like I mentioned before, with like the wind Vaj or something like that. Like, if you've kind of planned for it, there are times to entourage. But I quite often see people entouraging units that they don't. The character didn't do anything. They've just basically used up a draw and.
That one. If people don't know, I'm starting a series called Conquest Academy, what is going to be providing general tips and tricks. So I would greatly recommend people to comment on those videos of what they want to see next talked about. Entouraging like that might be one of them. Like this is a mistake. You shouldn't be doing it. Like it kind of gets into like deck building of like, and as the series goes on, I'll get more and more into it. But as for Yoroni and monsters and like the greatness of Monster Mash, you get to concentrate your force into a smaller area, and you can pile more monsters onto one regiment than you can pile regiments onto a monster, just because of surface area. You can get more regiments into that area, and because these monsters are doing triple activations, you get more effective actions out of less cards. And you can actually have more actions than your opponent can because you are close enough with cards. They're durable enough. Like, the Mew card gives them their evasion 3, their tenacious 1 base, they're 18 moons. Their defense 3, resolve 4. They can put up a bubble of loose formation. They can do a lot of solid things like that. They can cast the spells for +1 defense, getting up to defense 4, and they can heal. So it's just like, and they're devout, so they only need 2 successful casts instead of 3 because you're a monster.
Yeah.
You just get a lot of activations and a lot of actions out of them compared to a lot of other Monster Mashes. I would say the closest one would be Wadroon with its Coatls, and maybe a Predator on an Apex Predator, because you get a free shoot when you do that kind of stuff. Then it would go City States, then it would go Nords. I don't think Spires Monster Mashes, because they do not have a character that Monster Mashes. And they also don't have triple activations. on a lot of their stuff.
You say that about Spires, but I've seen a few 4 or 5 monster Spires lists floating about.
Is it all abominations?
One of them was quite a few abominations. One of them, like you're saying with Woodrune, it's got a couple of Terraphons in, but there's at least one person I've seen who's playing 4 Desolation Beasts, or maybe a mixture of 2 Desolation Beasts, 2 Consumption Beasts. I don't know how good it will be, but we'll see.
Yeah, but it really comes down to like the triple activation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Yoroni Spires is the best one at it. And then they have defensive tech against shooting and magic, what is usually the monster's weakness because it's easier to shoot a monster to death than to engage it in melee. So now it forces the opposing player to engage it in melee. So you need something that can effectively kill it in melee. What is support regiments? Just mass attacks, and as many as we can cram in there, and force our opponent to roll as many dice as possible to fail as many dice as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what happens. And Yoroni has the shooting birds or the melee birds that are very quick. They can fly around. They got their ideal cards, all kind of giving them benefits here, depending on which ones are drawn. Mew for the evasion. Let's see here, army rules. Where is it? Foo for the speed, +1 to its or +2 to its march. Like those ones are good. So it's kind of just like stuff like that where you're really negating the weaknesses of monsters in Yoroni and accenturizing the strengths of monsters in Yoroni. And that's what makes them tough. And because of those strengths and mitigation of weaknesses, they kill, they have a stronger matchup into like Dweghom and SK. And as you mentioned before, the stat check into a lot of other factions just kind of like stonewall them, where they can't really overcome that. And there's only specific factions that can kind of do enough to beat them. And that's why they're top dog on the food chain. For,
Absolutely.
Competitive play winning a 6-round game. But you can still play Yoroni infantry, you can still play Yoroni bricks, you can have they're still strong, they're still doing really good. Like all these factions are still doing really good on like a 4-rounder. Probably some of them are going to have a little bit more difficulties on a 5-rounder. And it's going to come down to like player skill and builds and stuff like that, like more so on player skill at the end of the day. But one of the things that I've kind of learned and taken is that the lists are you're an MMA fighter. The lists are your muscles, while your knowledge of the game and the matchups is your technical skill. So like someone with bigger, like you can beat a person with bigger muscles if you just out technical them, or if you have lower technical ability but it's close enough, you can beat them with having bigger muscles with like a stronger list kind of thing. Like that's kind of how that works. But technical skill, you can really gap a person on technical skill.
And I think that's it. Like obviously you've had a nice overview here of what the different factions are, what you can expect to see from them if you're looking at getting into them, what kind of things are good at the moment. This, of course, could all just change in April anyway, but I think that, to be fair, though, overall, the general things you've talked about are going to be true regardless. I can't see the armor meta in inverted commas going away anytime soon. I can't see the monster mash changing because they seem to like that. So, I mean, you're looking... if there's a huge update in April and loads of things change, like, you're going to be looking for the same things. You're going to be looking for... I mean, Evasion 3 is always good. You're going to be looking for Cleave 1. You're going to be looking for a high volume of attacks. Every unit... you can correct me if I'm wrong. Every unit with Flurry is pretty good.
Yeah, like, there's just... there's solid things in the game, like... If your regiment has Flurry, you're probably in a good spot. Like you probably you have something nice. If you have a dice re-rolling mechanic in some way, like re-rolling defensive stats, re-rolling offensive dice, like you're going to be in a good spot. You're probably something you want to look forward to. If you have a bunch of attacks in Cleave 1, you're probably in a good spot. If you're quick, you're in a good spot. If you got free shooting or like free spell casting, you're probably in a good spot. Like, there's stuff like that. Anything that can like eke out advantage, you're in a good spot. If you're just like a unit of men-at-arms, I'm sorry, you're an MSU of men-at-arms, you're probably gonna die. If you're a big brick of Man-at-Arms, we might have other conversations because there's enough of you to die to keep the front, a majority of you alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that. So
Yeah.
I like Conquest core, the core of Conquest is in a good it's in a good spot. If you're playing locally, you're going to round 4 less events, you're probably having a good time. You're probably enjoying yourself. If you're looking for high-end competitive play, what this podcast was about, and the discussion around it, you gotta look at kind of who's the big bad. Is there something in your faction can handle that, or are you kind of playing that faction? And if you're not, it's not the end of the world. You can still go to enjoy yourself. I'm gonna tell you something, guys. Last year's Adeptacon, I ran Ray Goons, what was just a bunch of stupid ass dwarves running up the table, and swamping people with zonal control and scoring. And I would be on zones, and I'd be like, my opponent would be like, I can test that. It's like, I score this zone because I have 5 seizing stands. And I'd be like, I have 5 contesting stands. You don't score it. Or they'd be like, because it gave you +2 seizing stands to all the light command stands and characters. So it was like, yes, the Ardent Kurawa, who has +2 seizing, and the command stand, who has +2 seizing, is now 4 seizing stands. And because I also have another 4 stands, that's 8 contesting stands. You have put an MSU on the zone. I still score it. And they're like, what? And now I'm going to stab you. So there's it's more like piece trading. It's more like fundamentals of the game. And it was a fun list, and I enjoyed it. But I went 4-2 at Adeptacon. I got beat out by Chariots, and I got beat out by Speakers because they just had more tools, more activations. Like Chariots had that fire in advance thing where they could just move backwards. And so they'd just be moving around and peppering me with shots in the flank, kind of running around and being super annoying. So yeah, Dweghom at the time was probably at its weakest, but I still did really good. I think I ended Adeptacon at 10th, which is a really good spot out of 62 players. So that's pretty good. I enjoyed myself. Went 4-2. But a lot of those wins is just I had better technical skill. I had my fundamentals down, and those were the games I played. You can still do it. You can still do really well with probably worse lists. There's always upsets in tournaments. You don't know how it's going to end until it's played. Someone can make a blunder, and someone takes advantage of that blunder. Like Apex Chinchilla, a great quote from him is that to win Conquest, you must make less mistakes than your opponent. And I believe these words are true for Conquest. But yeah, that's about it. You got any other questions?
No, I think
I'm good. My voice is dying.
I think it's always worth remembering as well. Obviously you want your opponent to make more mistakes than you, but also at the end of the day, it can be a dice game too, and that doesn't mean I think people lose games because of dice. But no, people don't often lose games because of dice. But we talked about the Dweghom. There is a chance that they just roll lots of high dice on their on their spells in turns 2 and 3, and then you're all right.
I've done I think I did a Wizard 9 at one point, and I rolled 3 successes, and I was like, awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Then I'll roll a Wizard 7, and I'll roll 4 or 5, and I'll be like, why did I spend the tokens?
I had it at LGT when I was playing Yoroni. I was only playing one Spider at Yoroni this year. It was before the update. And I think in my first game, I successfully cast 1 spell or 2 spells over 10 turns. So, genuinely, just my dice, the spell casting dice just absolutely abandoned me. I was just failing every spell. I think I managed to heal 1 unit for 4, and I managed to get +1 defense on 1 unit once, and that was it over 10. So that Spider was on the board for 9 rounds and did 2 spells. So, it absolutely happens. So it's not. I would always recommend people play out their games. Don't just think you've lost because your opponent's playing a better list.
Yeah, There's been plenty of games where like someone's come to me and is like, "Oh, I got this awesome list, and I'm like, I've won all my games by like turn 4, sometimes 5," and I'm like, "Okay." And they put it on the table, and I look at it, I'm like, "I've played this list before. I know what I'm doing."
Mhm.
And then they do their normal thing. They get way too aggressive because they don't understand that they should be more patient. And I punish that aggression, and it's like, okay, I've killed your front line, and now I have free reign into your back line, and that's where all your juicy stuff is. And he's like, ah, and it's like, then I win. And I'm like, okay, cool.
I mean, that's you've touched on something there. Absolutely, I think that people should consider like the probably one of the one if you're wanting to start kind of competing and doing well in events. Now, I don't think that you have to want to do well in events. Like, if you want to just turn up and play 4 games, like that's fantastic. That absolutely, I've been there with a lot of games in the past as well. But if you want to get good and start doing well, you should just practice the list you're going to play or practice the faction you're going to play. You don't need to change from. I guess put it like this: like if you were to change from Nords to Sorcerer Kings and go to an event next week, you would probably do a lot worse than if you just practiced the Nords you've been playing previously. Like,
I would probably go 1 and 2 because that's literally what happened after Heos.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Like,
or I went 2 and 1 or something. Like, I did like. That's a local.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you are better off practicing, sticking. Not saying that you can't. I mean, God, I would be a massive hypocrite if I told you not to swap armies. Like, I've got everything, but I think that if you want to start doing well, you should just pick the faction, pick the list you want to play, and practice it. And just get used to your reps, get used to what your things do, and that'll carry you honestly like 80-90% of the way to doing well. Like, obviously it's easier if you play Yoroni, but not by a lot.
So I actually have the numbers. That hog list I played at Heos. It originally started with 4 hog, and I started building it after Adeptacon, and that was what I was gonna play Nords after Adeptacon. I was gonna take it to Gamescom Canada, what is the one of the Canadian events, and you had to be fully painted. So I was like, I bought 4 hogs. I'm going to play 4 hogs. I'm going to paint 4 hogs.
Mm-hmm.
On the way to Gamescom, I think in April, there was an event in Calgary. I went to Calgary and I went and played a game, and I was like doing pretty good locally with it, like back in Winnipeg. And I played it and I went 1 and 2. I lost 2 games. And I was like, I'm kind of down. So okay, what happened was there was a different list that I was playing because it was 4 hogs, and they nerfed it and changed it, and then I swapped over to the current hog list, and I just took it to the event and thinking my previous practice would make up for it. And I played the game fundamentally wrong based upon the changes that Nords received after Adepticon, but before the April event. So I wasn't ready for those changes, and I went 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Get to Gamescom, practice that list more, show up, go 4 and 0 and win the event.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm still kind of playing it on and off, trying a bunch of other things for Nords leading up to Heos. I kind of find that like it's not good enough. I'm just doing really badly with the other things from Nords. I'm not enjoying it. The hog list was just doing well for me, and I go to Golden Rhino GRG. I play it again, and I go, I think 4 and 1. I think that was a 5-rounder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it was a 5-rounder. I went 4 and 1, and I was like really happy. Ended up 3rd, did really well, and I was like, okay, you know what? That was really fun. I wanted to get out there, play some Nords, get a bunch of games in because I wasn't really practicing over the summer for Heos. Then I talked to some of the guys going to Heos, and I was like, look, I don't think playing the other Nords list is going to help me. I've tried them a couple times, and they're just not clicking. I'm going to take the hogs. What can be done to make the hogs better? And Carl was like, swap one of the Golter for Fenner, make the Shaman your warlord for Evasion 2 on everybody. I did that, went to Heos, came 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the practice from all the way from April up to September to Heos, where I was basically playing the same thing, doing different variants and trying some stuff here and there, but like it was effectively the same list consistently up until that point, and I had a lot of practice with it and knew what to do, and it was all just muscle memory. So I was playing the table and my opponent instead of trying to be like, oh, what does my thing do? How does this work? Like, none of that was I needed to do. was really nice.
Yeah, this is absolutely, and like you said, like you can if you just consider like the fundamentals, of playing a game like Conquest, like you can just design a list you want to play, and I think that'll be fun for a lot of people. Like, we've talked about quite a few factions like Hundred Kingdoms, Spires, having like a really good breadth of lists you can play, but you can probably do something similar with a lot of different factions. It's a lot better than it was previously, I think. When I say previously, I'm thinking like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, okay. I would say, okay, this is going to be an opinion. The competitive level of the game, I think, has progressively gotten worse since October 2024, since the first Nords and Wadroon rework. Yeah, I think it's progressively gotten worse. Like, we had Wadroon and Nords doing really ridiculous. Dweghom was down, 100K was down, City States was down. A lot of things just like weren't doing very well, and you kind of had to play like Wadroon or Nords to kind of do very well. Then, an update happens. Sorcerer Kings got kind of pumped through the roof. Yoroni came out. It got a change for their wound count, and it was like, hey, Tenacious 2 into like shooting and melee is really strong, especially on the level of durability of the Defense 3 R3 base with what the fuck is it? 7 wounds. Like, it's just you're just getting stat checked. So that's really strong. Stays all the way same. Wadroon gets knocked down in the summer. Heos happens. So Yoroni and Sorcerer Kings is kind of the kings there. Does really well. We get into the October update. Dweghom gets remade. It's really strong. Sorcerer Kings gets knocked down, but then it's like the next thing unlocks. And also the loss of light scoring unlocks Monster Mash to be more effective.
Yeah.
And more and more relevant in the meta. What then gets into our current rise of Yoroni Monster Mash is they're the best at it. And then we get into the January update where Spires gets reworked, and then we get command stands on everything, and now Dweghom is like a fucking monster upon the world. Like, it was strong, it was solid. I would rank it probably before that January update into like the mid-tier with 100K. I think probably the top of the mid-tier, maybe at the bottom of the top tier, because it was so good. But not where I think it's like second best kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I'd have put them around OD before. This is the thing. Like, I think before they were still incredibly good. And I think that, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there has to be a clean way of fixing it, but I think they just have to, they need to knock that arcing into your opponent's zone on the head, and then I think it's okay. Like, I don't think they're bad. I think they're still incredibly good, but they're a lot fairer at that point.
Yeah, it just... Like, I like and enjoy the game. That's why I keep playing. That's why I keep making content for it.
Yeah.
But I will admit, I'm a competitive player. I look at the high end part of the game because that's what I enjoy about this game. That's what I want out of it. That's what I liked about War Machine. That's what I like about Conquest. And so at the end of the day, I got to look at it and go, like, these are the factions. This is kind of where I'd put them. This is kind of where I would assess them at. These are the kind of reasons why. And it's kind of just, I don't know, a little bit of it's like kind of a fun thought experiment of like, what is strong, what is good, why are things the way they are, what are people having problems with, what's the general discussion and discourse around it, do people understand what's really going on to make statements of it, kind of things like that. Like, I read a lot of the international Discord, and sometimes I see stuff where like, this thing's super strong, and I'm like, it's fine, it's not really. And then people are like, this thing's super strong. I'm like, yes, it is super strong, but you got the reasons wrong. So you're diagnosing, was it symptom? You're listing off symptoms, not the diagnosis, or like the actual problem, whatever the medical terminology is. But yeah, so there's stuff like that. And it just kind of goes from there. I still think the game's in a good spot, generally. Core wise, it's in a good spot. The fundamentals of the game I quite enjoy and I think are really good. And I don't want people to be like, well, I play Nords, so I'm the worst faction. You are not the worst faction. You are in a good spot.
Yeah, Weavers are the worst faction.
And enjoy it. Weavers. So you'll have a good time. You're going to enjoy stuff locally. But this entire conversation, this entire talk about these factions, and we'll kind of list like things they're trying to do, is more so if you want to win Adeptacon, if you want to win Amulet D20, stuff like that. Like that's the contents for this. I'm not trying to be negative about anything, but we're just looking at a high-end play, and I've given plenty of reasons why various things can kind of get knocked down lower on the brackets of what I would play and what I'd bring to such an event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good summary and a lame disclaimer. Remember, Mass, no, these are factual statements. If you don't play Yoroni, you're going to lose. That's how this works.
I'm going to tell you this right now. I listen to your stuff on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, depending on what I have open at the time. I'm not going to read a single comment. I'm not going to go to your YouTube when you upload this. I'm not going to read a single comment.
It's okay, because
I'm going to save my own sanity.
If there are any good comments, I will send them to Mass and make him read them. So,
it's just a guy saying I'm a cunt 36 times in a row. I'm like, all right, that was the best one. Like, thanks, man.
If you want to call Mass a dickhead in the comments, please do it in a really imaginative way, and I'll send it to him. That's all I'm saying. It'd be fantastic.
I will read those if they're entertaining.
Yeah.
What's that TV or that talk show where they make the celebrities read mean tweets about themselves?
Oh, I have no idea, but yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we'll do that again. We'll get Mass back on to do that if you leave the best comments. Ask him questions. Do that. But as we all know, the only reason Mass has put Nords in that bottom tier is so he can act like he's great because he won or he came second in Chaos with Nords. That's what I would do. No,
they were higher up before he hosts. Yeah. The loss of Raider scoring is literally just like, why?
I mean, that's what I would do too. Like, actually, Sorcerer Kings, really weak. Bottom tier. Really dreadful.
Yeah. To be honest, I've explained my position on this whole conversation. My vocals are kind of done.
Yeah, of course. So. No, we'll finish there. It's been a long. You need to get ready for Valentine's Day, I'm sure.
No, we're doing that like next Friday.
Enjoy. Well, me too.
Yeah, we're gonna go for some downtown cafe dinner date, and then she's like, "You're taking me to a dessert cafe," and we're getting like brunch, and then I'm taking her to a dessert cafe.
That sounds lovely.
She can be romanced.
Oh, lovely. So if you have any ideas for how Mass can do some romancing, put those in the comments too.
They don't call me the Italian stallion for no reason. Remember, 8 inches ain't that big. Man, what is this guy packing? One of the greatest comments I ever got on a YouTube
video. Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Mass. I'm going to edit this and upload it at some point.
Hey,
be great.
I'm excited.
Hey, do you have anything to say before? Do you want to do any more plugging of your stuff before we finish?
Oh, okay, sure. So, go like and subscribe to Just Roll Ones on their YouTube channel. They need the love. Join their UK. What is this thing called? UK Conquest community. The link for that will be in the description below. If you are in the show notes. If you want more of my antics, you can join Bonk Table. Like and subscribe. Watch Bonk Table Discord podcast. Join the Bonk Table Discord, also in the link below. Come to BonkCon, that's in Winnipeg, Manitoba, June 6th and 7th. And what else? Go play games, have some fun. Enjoy yourselves. Like at the end of the day, this is a game about war dollies. And I have done more heinous crimes to them than I think anyone else so far has.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of your painting antics.
Have you seen the Apex Concreter?
I have. I was. You threatened to beat me over the head with it.
Yeah, I sent. You should just screenshot that, and that's like the picture because we didn't do cameras or anything.
Absolutely.
Me trying to find out what time we're actually recording this, and I threatened you with a
Rolling dice on the battlefield, armies clash, no time to yield. Knights and monsters, banners fly, we march to war, do or die. Hold the line, don't break the ranks. In this fight, there's no room for thanks. Conquest calls, the game begins. Only one side ever wins. Just roll once, we're living on the edge. In the heat of battle, standing on take the land. Just roll once, we're living on the edge. In the heat of battle, standing on the ledge. Just roll once, it's fate or it's skill. We don't lose, we fight with iron will. No retreat, no surrender. We're in this till the end. Rolling dice of glory, where fate and skill blend. Just roll once, let's take the throne. Our destiny unknown.